Good evening and welcome to our special presentations for the Deputy of the Third Quarter. Today is February 7th, 2023. We'll be recognizing Deputy Nichelle Reyes and actually going to come down here to the microphone and present this special presentation. Good evening. On behalf of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, it is my honor to recognize Deputy Nichelle Reyes as the Moreno Valley Deputy of the Third Quarter. And at this time, I'm going to ask our Police Chief Reichel, if he'd like to join us here at the microphone, as well as, would you like me to call up the deputy at this time as well? All right. And Deputy Reyes and any family members that you have here, if you would join us as well. Congratulations. Excellent, excellent. So I'm just going to read a few things here, and then I'll pass the microphone over to Captain Reichel to share a few words as well. The City of Moreno Valley greatly values public safety, and tonight we recognize one of our best. Deputy Reyes has been a part of the Moreno Valley Station for several years, and in that time, she developed camaraderie, experience, and a reputation of integrity and trust, proving herself to be a reliable deputy with the instinct to protect and serve. Whether conducting interviews for investigations or tending to individuals in need of medical attention, Deputy Reyes stands out in a field full of extraordinary men and women. Deputy Reyes has been a great example of why she chose this career and a great reminder for those that have forgotten. And I just want to share something brief. I recall this was several months ago that I walked into one of our local pharmacies, and there was a deputy there that was actually buying some materials because he had just answered and responded to a call, and he had gotten some blood on him and he was injured. So he was at the pharmacy trying to take care of himself at that time. So, just want to tip my hat off to all of our public safety personnel for everything that you do, because you receive a call and you never know what you're going to be actually arriving to. So at this time, I will pass the microphone over to Captain Reichel to share a few words as well.
All right, so on behalf of the Riverside County Sheriff's Office, Moreno Valley Station is proud to announce that Deputy Nichelle Reyes has been named Deputy of the Quarter for the months of July, August, and September of 2022. Deputy Reyes started her full-time career with the Sheriff's Office in July of 2016 as a correctional deputy, serving at Robert Presley Detention Center and Smith Correctional Facility. In 2018, she attended the 2006 Basic Academy, and after graduating the academy, she spent time working in court services. In March of 2020, Deputy Reyes was assigned to the Moreno Valley Sheriff's Station. While serving the community of Moreno Valley, Deputy Reyes has worked patrol operations as well as school resource officer. Currently, Deputy Reyes is assigned to Canyon Springs High School. Her immediate supervisor made the following comments about her. Deputy Reyes has been known to be reliable and dependable on any assigned shift. She has developed a great working relationship with her peers and supervisors alike. Deputy Reyes has shown determination and persistence with the way she is driven to see her investigations to completion. Her reliability and compassion with students are a true testament to her character. Deputy Reyes is a great asset to the Sheriff's Office and to the citizens of Moreno Valley, and we appreciate all that she does for the community. If you happen to see Deputy Reyes out and about, be sure to congratulate her for being named Deputy of the Quarter. And on behalf of the Sheriff's Office, we're going to issue you these inscribed handcuffs that label you as Deputy of the Third Quarter. And if you have anything you'd like to say. Share a few words. The mic is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate this award, and I'll handle it with care. Thank you.
And at this time, we'll go ahead and take a picture, and we do have the certificate here for you as well, so you could take this home and frame it up there somewhere in your house. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again, Deputy Reyes. Can we give her one more round of applause, please? And that will conclude our special presentations for this evening. We will come back in about 15 minutes for our regular city council meeting. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, Moreno Valley Community Services District, City as successor agency for the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Moreno Valley, Moreno Valley Housing Authority, Moreno Valley Public Financing Authority, and the Board of Library Trustees. The City Council receives a separate stipend for CSD meetings. I now call this meeting to order on February 7th, 2023 at 6:01 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Ed Delgado and will be followed by an invocation by Pastor Flakes. So please remain standing for that after.
Please stand and join me. Hand over your heart. Ready?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this opportunity that we can all come together for the betterment of this community, for this city of Moreno Valley. Lord, we ask that you grace us with your presence. Give each official on the city council, each official that is working together for the upbuilding of this city. We ask that you help them and give them the wisdom and the guidance, oh God, for the betterment of this community, to help each and every family that is here, that resides here. We ask, oh God, in spite of our personal differences, that we build together. Oh God, that we lift up the people of the city, that we move forward together for economic empowerment, for personal development, for family building, and for peace. We ask that you help us now. Bless each and every official, each and every person that's even here, oh God, to present. Oh God, that we move forward together as a community. And we are grateful for this opportunity that we can that you can assist us in this building up the city. We thank you and we need your presence. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Baca, Santa Cruz.
Present.
Councilmember Marcus.
Here.
Councilmember Bernard.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Here, ma'am.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Here. Staff introductions, please.
Jane Halstead, City Clerk.
Paul Bradford, Deputy City Clerk.
Stephen Quintanilla, Interim City Attorney.
Mike Lee, City Manager.
Michael Lloyd, Assistant City Manager for Development Services.
Manuel Mancha, Community Development Director.
Alyssa Walker, Director of Public Works.
Jeremy Bubnick, Parks and Community Services Director.
Ken Reichel, Chief of Police.
Battalion Chief Mike Martinez, Fire.
Thank you very much. A reminder that the city is currently offering Spanish translation services if anyone is interested in this feature. Before we hear public comments this evening, I ask and encourage everyone participating to keep their comments respectful toward others, especially toward the individuals speaking. I embrace and support the First Amendment right to free speech, including everyone's right to speak at this meeting and to share their views about issues concerning our city. But we can be more productive by being civil and respectful toward one another in this meeting. Finally, I ask that speakers bear in mind that comments will be limited for each speaker, and I encourage everyone to refrain from duplicating comments already made by others, other than to note that you agree or disagree with the prior comments. In order to preserve the meeting decorum, council and staff will not respond during public comments. Any council comments or questions to staff may be addressed during the council closing comments. This brings us now to public comments on matters not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed a total of 3 minutes to comment on any and all items which are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak for non-agenda items?
Yes, we have about 6. The first 3 speakers are Fred Benuelos, Adam Eventov, Roland Algayer.
And we'll give 3 minutes for each speaker.
Hello, everyone. When I talk about things, I want it based on facts. I try to resolve things at the lowest level. On July 26th, Councilmember Ulysses Cabrera filed a timely appeal. October 18th, he motioned to bring the appeal to a final vote. Did Councilmember Ulysses Cabrera drop the appeal? Is that why the Planning Commission approval of the conditional use permit remains in effect and valid? 4 times I called City Hall to get an answer. Twice I contacted City Clerk James Halstead to get an answer. It was finally Interim City Attorney Steve Quintanilla that told me the City Council has not granted Councilmember Cabrera's request to assume jurisdiction over the conditional use permit, which means that the Planning Commission's approval of the conditional use permit remains in effect and valid. Was that done in closed session? If it was, is there some type of reportable action that needs to be announced somewhere? I need somewhere in writing where I can refer to. I want people to be transparent. I come here to try to learn things, and I want to know what happened. I also hear that there's going to be a transitional house that wants to open up in that area where the dispensary is going to go. I don't know. I mean, we already have one in that area. I don't know if we need another one. I'm trying to find out information about that and how it goes. Let's see what else. Anytime there's a officer involved shooting or a deputy involved shooting, I believe that there needs to be a full investigation to find out what happened. And I don't really like to comment on them when they happen, but I want the Sheriff's Department to know that I totally support you, and I'll wait for the full investigation. But again, I support the Riverside Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Adam Evrenthal, Roland Algayer, and Judy Bryce.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, my name is Adam Evrenthal, Public Affairs Manager with SoCal Gas, here to give you an update on the high gas bills. A little bit better news than last month. And so the brace and the shoulder issue and stuff was really a function of Council Member Santa Cruz twisting my arm and bringing it down. Actually, without being glib, I do want to let you guys know that we expect bills in February to be about 64% lower than they were in January, 68%, excuse me. So if you had a $300 bill, as an example, your bill should be about $135 or whatever it is commensurate. So the commodity prices for natural gas are dropping, and so that's going to be reflected on your February bill. So that's some good news. What can you do in the meantime about your bill? There are some things that you can do right away. One is go to SoCalGas.com and sign up for a level pay program. That kind of evens out the bills throughout the year. The highs aren't as high, the lows aren't as low. Other things for income qualified folks, go visit SoCalGas.com/assistance and see if you qualify for either debt forgiveness or a one-time grant or medical baseline or income qualified program of some sort or another. There are also rebates on thermostats. You can also turn down your thermostat. You can also turn down your water heater temperature. You can also wash in cold. These are some things that you can do right away to bring things down and be a little more manageable for the short term while commodity prices on SoCal gas, or excuse me, on natural gas start to stabilize. What do I mean by that? Back in back in December, if you bought a gallon equivalent of natural gas, it was about $1.89. January it went up to $6.05. Now it's down to about just under $3, around $2.98. So things are starting to come down. Mostly it's a supply and demand thing. Demand was crazy during the really cold months, amongst other reasons, but demand was really, really high. And so supply and demand drove up prices, and that's unfortunately what the cost jump was. So around for any questions, you can always reach out, and I have emailed everybody under the sun about one-pagers that you can send out to constituents if you need to. So thank you for the time. Appreciate it. Any questions? Okay.
The next three speakers are Roland Algair, Judy Bryce, and Daryl Terrell.
Good evening. I live over on Santa Rosa Drive, and on Saturday I got this flyer in the mail that says they're putting a transitional home into the neighborhood, actually 2 doors from down from me. I kind of object to this. I don't know what the city's method is to approve these places, but doing a little research, I found out that places where have transitional houses, their crime rate has gone up. They've just has destroyed a neighborhood, and most of all has destroyed the housing values. I'll be honest with you, I'm trying to sell my house right now because we were trying to move to Alabama for a different job. But, if I get a house like that, and I already had to drop my selling price by quite a bit because of the present condition of the housing market. So I don't know what the city council can do or the planning department can do, but I know I've talked to several other people. I've put a statement up on this web site called The Neighbors, and a lot of people answered me, said they were, appalled to it. A lot of them said because we have neighborhood schools and all that, and you never know what's going to be moving into those houses. So I don't know what the city can do, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and I thank you for your time.
The next three speakers are Judy Bryce, Daryl Terrell, and Christopher Baca.
Good evening. My name is Judy Bryce. I have lived in Moreno Valley for 43 years. In November of 2021, I sold my house to my son. And I have been trying since then to have an ADU built and have been hitting roadblocks all the way along. I didn't hear anything until July or August. I went over to the city, talked to James Verdugo. He told me he'd sign off on his stuff. He did. And then at that time, he told me I should send in a form for an address, a new address. Called the secretary of my contractor, sent it over. November 3rd, the architect was supposed to send something over to Building and Safety, which they did. Didn't hear from them either. Went down there. All he kept saying to me was, "You need a change of address form." I said, "We already sent one in." So he was no help at all. Building and Safety was no help at all. Finally, he gave me a card for Dana Scott. The contractor secretary tried to call her. She didn't answer. So we went over there, her and I, with a copy of the address form that was sent over to James. I'd say within a half hour, 45 minutes, Dana had a new address for me, which she was very good. Okay, so now we're up to October 24th. This is of 2022. They say I'm approved. No, it has to start all over. I've paid all the fees that you've asked me to pay right away the same day. I also went over, they had to have a driveway application. Right on the top of the application, it says, take an 8x11 letter form and draw the boundary lines and where the house is going to go, which I did. Take it over to Land and Development. She tells me you have to put it online. I said, I don't know how. Now, why does the application say I can do this on a piece of paper? And it says nothing about doing it online. Okay, now my last thing is here. Yesterday, I get a notice. Am I a registered voter? Which I am. And I voted you in. So, and now it's going to take another maybe 4 weeks for them to check this and then send me another piece of paper to sign before I get all this approved. I'm 83 years old. I'd like to move into this house before I drop dead. I started this in 2021, and this is 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Bryce, and we'll make sure to get you connected with staff so that we can address your concerns.
You want me to stay or can I go?
Yes, if you could, please. One of our Manny Mancha here is actually going to connect with you. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Daryl Terrell, Christopher Baca, and Martin Cabrera.
Good evening. This is Daryl Terrell from Oval. We have a crisis as it relates to the high natural gas bills here in our community. We all heard the good news, but we have skyrocketed to levels that we haven't seen in the last 20 years. But many of you have received your utility bills for January, and that were more than double or triple than usual rate. Many of you are struggling to make ends meet, still working to recover from the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. It's a short-term spike, but it's impactful. For many of you, this has been really difficult. This is a child care payment. It's a car payment worth of money that you have to reallocate in your budget. As in time that you're ready to tighten your budgets and dealing with inflation and higher costs, forcing you to choose between paying your energy bill or paying food or other essentials just to survive. At the same time, our city's general fund from the utility user tax on general gas is also spiking from the 5.75 utility tax rate, which is applied each month to your total gas bill amount. As natural gas bill increases to you, so does the revenue to the general fund received from the utility tax. While you're conserving and, when possible, to lower your own gas bill, and with unexpected utility tax, anything that is abnormal that is being generated because of the natural gas spike, it is imperative that you, Mr. Mayor, and the City Council do what you can to help ease this financial burden on the residents in this community, especially in our small business community. Because we've heard what the gas companies say, but we still got to do something with our own, because we got this extra money. And so I call on you, Mr. Mayor, and the City Council to redirect any unexpected general fund revenue from the utility tax on natural gas and establish a natural gas price spike relief program for those residents most burdened by the additional cost, to including those in our small business community. In addition, Mr. Mayor, you should consider using, if we have any COVID-19 relief funding, and to use some of the general fund unassigned reserve account, if it's available, to supplement the funds to help more households for the small business community. And so this is my point for my whole remarks. We need to give back. The state's doing their thing. It's time for us to take that money that's beyond what we have and give it back to the people so they can pay their bills. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Christopher Baca, Martin Cabrera, and James C. Baker.
Good evening, community, elected officials, and staff. I wanted to speak about two issues regarding our constitutional right to grievance our government, which is our First Amendment right, I believe. And last couple of meetings, I spoke regarding our lack of patrols, police patrols on Sunnymead Boulevard. And I got a call from our chief of police, and he went over on, all the excessive calls they have and so forth. But in the last couple of weeks, I've seen a great improvement, and I commend you, and I appreciate that. And I think we need to take it a little further with our mayor, and maybe come out with some kind of a curfew, as far as, we got the people with the bikes that are, scoping out the places, and then you got the other person going and breaking into the stuff. So I would suggest maybe we can look into something like that. On the other hand, as far as grievance and government and so forth, I also spoke to the chief about a conduct of one of his officers, and that officer was Officer Reyes. And my conduct here Mr. El Delgado didn't appreciate it. None of our officers appreciate it, but I didn't appreciate her conduct. In my 60 years living in LA, living in East LA, I've never experienced the conduct of an officer such as Officer Reyes. And I'm not a litigious type of person, and I'm not looking to sue or anything like that, but the absolute least I can get is an apology. I understand that may constitute acknowledging that they were wrong, but like I said, I'm not a litigious person, but I don't think that officer, if that's her conduct with other people, I don't think she should be on the streets of our city. Okay, what she did was not right, absolutely not right. And maybe you can go look at the tape and understand what happened. And I explained to her, that I'm not in the wrong, she's in the wrong. And she continued and took it further. Instead of de-escalating it, she took it way further. So that's my grievance, and I hope you understand me being upset over that. I don't think it's right that we have officers that conduct themselves to people in our city in that manner. So otherwise, I'm all for police protection. I understand, they're here to save us, and I'm one that says if you're against police patrol, don't call 911. I call 911. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next three speakers are Martin Cabrera, James C. Baker, and Bob Palomares.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, I'm here at home. Thank you for welcoming me. First of all, I want to point to prior speakers before this meeting. It happens for years. Freedom of speech does not mean give the person right to come and throw hatred to authorities and encouragement of disobedience as well. So that's one. My appreciation to Mr. Mayor for the amazing work, dedicating yourself to serving the youth and generally the community. You're doing a great job. Education is priority in our kids, our young guys. If we do not educate our young people, we're gonna be struggling in the near future with more homelessness, with more violent people out there. So please, I know there's money to put into that. Our taxes are being so high rated, so let's make it work toward education of our kids so we can create a better civilization. Thank you. Why not to build a YMCA locally? I know there's money. State-wise, it's a lot of money to ask for. Let's make it work. Thank you. Beautification of the city. I see Sunnymead Boulevard just like, and it's the main artery to our city. Whoever authorities, council members, put their hands there, make a big effort. All this little entrance, grass dying, paint faded on the Sunnymead Boulevard. I don't know how long been touched, but it's just not appropriate. Homeless issue. I have a plan. If you would like to hear from me, reach me out. Maybe the city can buy a land, build. Now it's affordable dirt homes, very cheap to build. So, and then build a community and make those homeless produce their own goods. Take it from there.
Thank you.
The next three speakers are James Baker, Bob Palomares, and Russell Schaefer.
Hey, good evening. Well, good evening. All right. Okay, my name is James C. Baker II. I'm the former park commissioner for the city of Moreno Valley, and it's so good to be here again. It's been a while. I've kind of been on hiatus for a while with the COVID and everything, and since I retired, but we're working our way back. And it's so good to see so many of you up there, council members. Got different opinions or whatever, but I'm proud of all you guys. You guys did great, and you guys worked hard to get where we are, and congratulations to all of you. And again, I kind of get my thing here. So good for the staff members. Mike Lee, good to see you again. And my friend over there, Jane Halstead. I've always said you can't run a city without a Halstead at the helm. And Jane, she's a good one. She was here. She should swear us in on the commission years ago. So good to see you back again, Jane. Make my comments very brief here. Basically, my main purpose to bring forth to the city council that I adopted a park about 3 years ago, Patriot Park over on the south side, and Linda and Mayor Cabrera, you guys know about that park. I think we're in the same district there. And what we're going to do, my plan is try to have a basketball court there, build a basketball court. We have a big, large parcel of land there, but it's never been used. I've been there several times, and I actually adopted the park, so I'm the one that kind of keeps it clean. And there's never anything going on there. And if you know about parks take a lot of water. And we put a large cement slab there and get a couple of courts out there. And I know we have some funds coming toward the city for that, so it should be fairly cheap and very simple to do. But I just want to come tonight and get the ball rolling and get it official on the records there. We'd like to try to put a basketball court at Patriot Park, and that'd be great for the kids and kind of keep kids out of trouble. And because I've been there, and they say they have to go the way different other parks and other parts of the city to play basketball. So we're going to try to fix that for them if we can, and it'd be a good use for the park too. That's about it, guys. Again, good to be back. Good to see you all. Y'all looking good up there. And I'm going home and go to the couch.
Next three speakers, Bob Palomares, Russell Schaefer, and Sarah Lytle.
Good evening, Chief. Great job. I'm glad you caught that creep that was robbing those restaurants. Get them off the streets. When I come here and I speak, it's my time. No one sitting up there or anywhere in here can violate my rights. I have the right to say anything I want. I just don't put my hands on nobody. And if you get offended on what I say, you can plug your ears. It's pretty simple. Going to Sunnymead Boulevard, they trimmed the trees, the palm trees. It looks nice, real nice. But the property owners need to take care of the palm trees that are on their property. If you drive down there, look at the palm trees that belong to the city. They're A1. But the property owners, they need to take care of theirs. Also, I wanted to just talk, before when we used to have the, the stops for the DUI checkpoints, there were at least 9 different tow companies that came up here and wanted to be on the list to do the towing if any cars were retained. So I don't know if they still do that, if you contract with them or what, but I don't even know if you're aware that Pepe's Towing is being sued. I believe, I don't know if it's by Moreno Valley or City of Riverside or Riverside County. They were caught, and it's alleged, because I think they're still going to court, that they had illegally towed away 600 vehicles without the owner's permission of the property, the store owner. And if they find that they're guilty and they did it, and that's illegal, and this Pepe's Towing's pretty big. they do for whether they do for Caltrans or the Highway Patrol, but they drive the white tow trucks on the freeway. But if that's the kind of practice that they're doing, we should all be aware, because believe me, if these people are doing it, the higher ups know what the hell's going on. And they're victimizing people, It's just like, you go to the market and you come out and your car's gone, and you ask the owner, and there's nothing posted saying that if you're illegally parked, it can be towed away at your expense. So I think you need to pay attention a little bit to that. See what happens, because if they're here under contract and they get found guilty, get rid of them. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Russell Schaefer, Sarah Lytle, and Pete Bleckard.
Good evening, everyone. Cabrera, have you started your training for your sensor? You need it, and you need it fast. Last week on February 2nd, 2023, there was an article in the Press Enterprise which stated that our city of Moreno Valley had violated the state's open meeting law. Well, here we go again. A resident filed a complaint with the DA alleging that the city council violated state's open law, and a letter from the assistant DA did allege that the council had violated state's open meeting law. Come on, kid. You are the one running this meeting. There are people who do know the laws and procedures and watching every move and mistake, what is being done, and how meetings should be run on that dais. We do not need to get sued for violations that are preventable because inexperience or worse, ignorance, like the Brown Act violation committed after Councilwoman Victoria Baca's death. Dude, get your act together and quick. We are being made to look like a city that does not have the leadership needed to run our city of Moreno Valley. Citizens are questioning what you are really doing up there. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. We are just waiting to see when you are going to be in the newspaper next and for what violation. We are being made to look like a laughing stock in the county of Riverside. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Sarah Lytle, Pete Bleckard, and Dr. Mary McBean.
Hello, my name is Sarah Lytle, and I'm here today to talk about the homeless crisis. I'm currently homeless with my 7-year-old son, and I have exhausted every resource that I can find, and I don't know what to do anymore. I currently work at Mountain View Middle School as an instructional aide. I've worked before that. I've been in Moreno Valley basically my whole entire life. I know the ins and outs, but when it comes to resources, as you pointed out, Mr. Ulysses, there's nothing here. We don't have any homeless shelters. We don't have Catholic charities. We don't have Salvation Armies who really want to pour into our communities. I read an article saying that they're supposed to help us with motel vouchers. They do not. You call Home Connect, they're extremely busy helping other families. Our wellness center does help to a certain extent, but they only have so many resources that they can do for us. After a 10-day stay in a hotel, where do you go? Currently living inside of my car. I've been at the Budget Inn in Riverside. It's a no-go. They have mold inside of the hotel, roaches crawling everywhere. Why would I want to stay there with my son? It's better off being in the car. I know many of you guys understand the homeless crisis. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for you guys to give me a handout. I'm literally asking for resources. I read a letter, Mr. Cabrera. If you could take the time to read it, it's really from the bottom of my heart. I really don't know what to do. I'm willing to work on any committee, any board, give me something to do, utilize my mind to help our community with this crisis. You can't go get on welfare because you make too much money. Can't do EDD because I currently work. Can't go get a second job. I don't have a babysitter. My mother died on November 13th of 2022, unexpectedly. I don't have anybody else. My sister's currently a meth head on Skid Row herself. My brothers live in LA and we're not close. My father's incarcerated. His father's incarcerated. It's a continued cycle. I'm at loss. Help me. You feel? Tell me, what do I do? I'm in my car. I had to take my stuff out my car because people was trying to come in my car and steal my belongings. They told me, get rid of your storages, get rid of your stuff. You don't have your priorities in order. How don't I? I'm a working citizen. I pay my taxes. I do what I need to do. I'm just at loss. But if you could take the time to really read this letter, I don't know who do I give it to. I've tried to contact you personally, but I'm at loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lytle. And if you could please leave that here with our staff, I'll make sure to connect with you as well to see how we can assist. And I'll also invite you, in case you hadn't heard, next Wednesday, we have a study session specifically to talk about homelessness. It's going to be right here in the same room at 6 p.m. next Wednesday. Definitely invite you back as well, but we'll be reaching out to you later today as well.
The next three speakers are Pete Bleckert, Dr. Mary McBean, and Linda Thomas.
Most of my speech will be about what happened the last meeting you had here. First thing is, one of the council members said that they own what they said. That's been a first since 38 years of the city. Nobody else has ever said that. But it's about you, Mayor, and the way you act at the end of the meeting. You must really believe everybody telling you how great you are, that you appointed yourself superior to the city, and anybody that has to, council or anybody else, has to go through you to talk to staff. I didn't know that you were the owner of the city and had a trustee to the place. But I'd like to talk about the way you talked about sitting up there and going after our city attorney like he was your own personal attorney. He is called the city attorney. And you sit there and belittled him and chastised him and asked him if he would call you and tell you what all the other council people are doing. When did you become so superior? You know? I've come to a few of these meetings, not a whole lot, but a lot of them. And that's the first time I've ever seen somebody act so stupid. So, you know, I'd like to know why you think you're that great that you can be putting down and belittling and putting our city manager and making the staff go through with your flip to have to listen to that. That's wrong. But, you know, as the old saying says, stupid is what stupid does, and you're doing a damn good job at it. But I can tell you that I don't know how much education our city attorney has and what good lawyer he is. But one thing he can't fix is stupid. So I don't know, when did you ever, I would like to ask you one particular question. Are you the second coming of Jesus Christ?
The final two speakers are Dr. Mary McBean and Linda Thomas.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Mary McBean, and I want to piggyback on the electric bill and the gas bill. I called all the resources that was called out by the people from the man from the gas company. My electric bill was $1,000, $1,008.53. My gas bill was $287 and some change. When I called the resources about the high prices, they said to me, Dr. Mack, your income is too high, you don't qualify. So then I was calling other resources to find out what do the city do, or are there any plans for individuals who do have a fairly decent income but still get stuck with these high bills. That's the only thing I needed to ask for tonight. And I hope somebody can help me with that. And I'm looking at Elena, since she's my district councilwoman, for some relief. Thank you.
The final speaker is Linda Thomas.
Good evening. My name is Linda Thomas, and I am a resident of District 3, where we have the most unprofessional, not qualified city council member. He needs to go through intensive training. I don't think that at this point there's hope. I think that whether you live in District 3 or not, considering that we're all residents of this city, you need to see the extreme necessity to have a leader representing our city. Our District 3, I am a resident there. I've been a resident since, I've lived in Moreno Valley for 23 years. I think leadership is important. We have to leave that legacy for our children. Our children are looking to our leaders, to our people that want to sit with these titles. And I am speaking to you, Ulysses, because there was an event for the Martin Luther King scholarship. My daughter won. She's sitting in the audience. My daughter is an exemplary student. Top of her class. 4-point-something student. Listen to me. She's the national delegate for the Girl Scouts. 2 girls out of 13 or 17,000. She's from Moreno Valley. You were supposed to shake her hand, and you walked away. You walked away. And your father says, oh, values, oh, this and that, religious, maybe a little bit Compton, all of this. Where is the damn human being that can say, you know what, I'm the leader, I'm proud of you, regardless of what you feel for us? No, I didn't vote for you because you ran your campaign with a bunch of fucking lies. Yes.
Please,
Yes.
please watch your language.
Yeah, I can say that too. I can, okay? And everybody, whoever voted for you, maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know. Your father can say all of this greatness about you. No values, no morals. He ran your campaign. That's your father. My father would have said, don't do stupid shit. Because if you want people to talk
Thomas,
good things about you,
please watch
do
your
good
language.
things.
There's-
Do good
there's
things in your
children watching the
community
meeting.
so that people can say great things. Because right now, all of the commercials that you're making, it's the work of Dr. Gutierrez, but you're making the commercials taking all his credit, right? Everybody could
Thank you,
clap
Ms. Thomas. Please,
There's
and if everyone would just please keep your comments respectful, please. There's also children watching these meetings. Thank you.
There's one final speaker, Roy Bleckard.
The mayor starts like this meeting off as I support everyone's right to free speech. Let's look at the evidence. Today at 6 o'clock, again in Moreno Valley, we had 3 public meetings scheduled at 6 o'clock, Valverde School District, Moreno Valley, and this. Again, I want to thank B&B, Ms. Baca and Bernard, who proffered forward at least to discuss this. But again, the 3 little boys said not no, but hell no. If you support our right, our First Amendment constitutional right for free political speech, right to redress our government, and just some plain common decency, you 3, why are you running us around? I'm going to try and hit all 3 meetings just to prove to you, and I was down at the county at 9 o'clock just to show you it can be done. But how you belittle, berate the citizens of this community by running us around, and you know what else you're doing? You're spitting on the grave of Victoria Baca, who fought and got arrested at this very same Moreno Valley crime syndicate that still runs today. This got you want education? Your dad, Mr. Mayor, talked about education. 3 out of 4 kids in the Moreno Valley Unified School District are not at grade level. What are you doing to address that? You know, and many studies have shown that you can tell the incarceration rate that's going to be in your community by the math and reading grade level of 3rd graders. You want to talk about that lady that come up here and said that I don't know what to do, everything's going crazy? That's why. It's public policy that we've done to ourselves. We've destroyed the unions in this country, which had 35% in the 50s and 60s, were private sector unions, and now we're down to 2%. And you know who supports that? And who supports those policies? I take it from the father of the Union Amendment, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, which told you, do not let the public employees get a hold of it because they're a monopoly, and that will kill the whole movement, which it has done. And you see it by the gas bills, the price of eggs, the price of gas, and everything else that's ridiculously high. You're losing buying power, you're going backwards, and we will until we straighten this out.
The last two speakers are Michelle Davis and Luis Palomares.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Davis, and it's just so much going on. I'm trying to just musa from all the stuff that's been being said. I have a mentorship program. I'll be doing a ribbon cutting soon as the Chamber of Commerce contacts me. And I just want to enlighten, since I've been coming here for maybe the past month or so, I have been seeing a lot of harsh, words towards the mayor, and I'm just here speaking because I had the opportunity to meet him personally, just on a note of trying to get this program open, him being available, making the planning committee, everybody have been available, and he's been nothing, I can honestly say, coming from my experience, have been nothing but gratitude, opened up, came to the building, opened up his time when he didn't have to walk through the building to see the potential that it will benefit the youth and many other parents that's dealing with homelessness. And I just believe that it takes a village. If everybody can stop complaining, if everybody can just step up, come together and represent the community the way that it should be, I believe that we will be in a better position. I know personally, I got married. I look back on my pictures, I didn't even take a picture with my mom. A lot of things are not done intentionally. A lot of things is just slipping your mind when you have so many different people pulling for you. It's just like Jesus Christ. Everybody was pulling from him. He couldn't reach everybody at one time. That's why it took a village. That's why he put together disciples. So if we can become those disciples and stop throwing the blame on just one individual and start taking a reflection and looking at ourselves and saying, what can we do to make a difference? I believe that there will be kids that can be more educated. Let's take out some time if we're not doing nothing through the days and see where we can go and connect with the unified school districts to see what kids are failing, see where we are missing. And I'm just now moving to Moreno Valley 2 years ago, and I hit the ground first foot running to see how I can meet the needs of this community. And I've been able to do it. And I've just been here 2 years. So I know that it can happen, but it's not gonna happen if everybody is blaming everybody, one person, for everything that's going wrong. We gotta stop the pointing the fingers, put the hands down, and start putting our voices up to make a difference. And that's the only reason I'm speaking, is because ever since I've been coming, it has been nothing but negativity towards the new mayor. And I just feel like if we give him a chance, I believe that God has chosen the right person. Whom he chose, he also predestined. And who he also predestined, he also qualified. Let's give him a chance. And God bless you all.
The next speakers are Luis Palomares, Jorge Coronado, and Audrey Thomas.
Luis Palomares, community activist. Wow. She said a mouthful, and it's true. But how? You know, the disciples were out there fighting. They put a good fight up to get the word out. There was no hypocrisy in that. But a lot of speakers come here. I'm not talking about this lady that just spoke. But a lot of these speakers come here throwing the God card around, the hate card, the love card. But they're a bunch of hypocrites, a lot of them. You know, put your money where your mouth is. Our last speakers had said, oh, open your ears. God gave us 2 ears. God gave us 2 eyes to see what's going on too. Can't they see what's going on? Tell me about it. The hypocrisy. golly, I just came from the school board over here. Had to run over there and run over here because having a meeting on the same day, it happens sometimes. Michelle, I agree with you 100%. I've been on the school board fighting that battle, not on the board, but in that arena for 28 years later. We're talking about air conditioning, bathrooms that don't work. Vista Del Lago needs a pool. Their gym, they don't have air conditioning and the kids could pass out there. That's a health issue. That's where I was, you know. So I'm in the trenches there too. I'm in the highways and the byways getting stones and thrown at me and rocks because I'm out here telling people about the facts, the truth, what really, really matters. And I know they're giving you glory again, Mr. Mayor, the new mayor here, but golly, at the last meeting, you didn't even have a clue what's going on yourself. You were here, you were there, you were there. You know, you and your sidekick here, Marcus here, that Teflon Marcus, nothing ever sticks. He gets away with everything. And we're going to keep on coming and saying what we're saying over and over and over again, whether they want to hear it or not, because when things change, we'll stop. But it hasn't changed because Marcus said at the last meeting, they're talking out of their behinds. Who does that on a council seat? Who does that? Last time he said, us five people, which is a lot of us, more than five, we don't matter. We don't live in his district. This is the guy. This is your left-hand man that took the fall for you, Cabrera. You know, when you get it right, and you start giving the people, not just the particular group, but the people, and giving them a voice and not shutting them out, you know, and let them go out and say what they're going to say. We're going to talk about 1100 right in a little bit. Okay, you know, I agree. If anybody's getting disrupted, cussing, screaming, dangerous in that way, but if we're talking, you cannot move us out of a room unless you give us a warning, then we go. But they never had to do that to me yet. Maybe you're going to throw that one around. But we should have more things about the violation of the Brown Act. That's what you should have put on the agenda. Breaking the law, doing things like that, putting up your political site 3 weeks prior. That's what you should let the people know, because your people don't know this stuff. They need to be taught. They need to learn.
Thank you.
The next speakers are Jorge Coronado and Audrey Thomas.
Buenas tardes, Mayor Ulises Cabrera. Buenas tardes, pueblo de Moreno Valley. Mi nombre es Jorge Coronado y actualmente estoy en la ayuda de la ciudad. Gracias, alcalde. Estoy en un programa del Salvation Army porque tengo SSI.
Me da un segundo. Si quiere, podemos traducir lo que está diciendo.
Sí, por
si
favor.
gusta.
Sí, claro.
Okay.
Y hablo inglés, pero habla muy bonito inglés y me da pena con mi inglés.
Si quiere, podemos
sí, por
llamar.
favor.
Sí, para que traduzcan también.
Gracias, gracias.
Yeah, give us just a second. We're actually going to get the translator to translate what he's saying as well. Just 1 second.
It's just that I express better in Spanish and I want to express clear the things that I have to say, Major. And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're good now? Okay.
Okay.
And do you need him to just say a few words and then turn it over to you?
Okay, sí, una palabra que no entienda, sí, porque
Okay.
modismos mexicanos a veces, ¿no? Que
Ya, si puede decir unas cosas y luego dé un momento para que él traduzca y ya otra vez usted empieza.
Sí, alcalde, gracias, sí.
Gracias.
¿Ya? ¿Listo? ¿Están? Ok, perfecto. Entonces, vengo a darle las gracias porque Moreno Valley es una ciudad bonita, tengo 6 años, la mamá de uno de mis hijos tiene una propiedad en la World Cloud, donde estuve residiendo 6 años, y luego en el Motorhome en la calle, gracias, ¿verdad? Que estuve ahí, y ahora el Salvation Army me da este programa, y les agradezco.
Sí,
y les quería...
¿Sí puede dar un segundo para que traduzca a él y ahorita usted empieza otra vez?
Bueno, ok, ya entendí, ok.
Yeah. If you want, you could come up here and stand next to him as well. Yeah, if that helps you out.
Gracias, muchachos.
Just to make sure everybody's understanding, para que todos escuchen también lo que está diciendo.
Sí, alcalde, porque sí es importante, verán.
Sí, sí.
Ok, sí, partes, ok. Sale, va. Ok, bueno, entonces, gracias, Ciudad de Moreno Valley. Es una ciudad muy bonita, tiene de todo, tiene empresas, Walmart, va uno a todas partes y en Los Ángeles no alcanza el tiempo en un día. Y aquí puede ir uno a todas las tiendas, ¿verdad? Entonces yo siento que, como dijo la compañera anterior, sorry.
I just want to thank everybody. This is a beautiful city. Moreno Valley is like LA. There's a lot to do. You can't do everything in one day.
Y les quería proponer, bueno, primero, gracias, ¿verdad? Me están ayudando para conseguir housing. Voy por partes. Vengo con una petición primero. Estamos haciendo el guión de la película Guerra Santa.
First, I want to thank you again, and then I want to talk about the housing, how we're starting the script for the movie. ¿Cómo se llama la película?
Holy War, Jihad, Christian Jihad, Guerra Santa o Jihad Cristiana.
We're starting that movie, Jihad Cristiana, Holy War.
Y si pueden ver el principio, que es la película Estrategia de Combate, en YouTube.
If you guys could see the beginning of the movie, Estrategia Combate, on YouTube.
Pronto se va a subtitular en inglés.
So there will be subtitles in English pretty soon.
Sí. Y el héroe, el lobo, y yo soy el doctor Luis Landeros de los Marines.
And the hero, the lobo, and I'm from the Marines.
Doctor Luis Landeros, ajá.
Dr. Luis Landeros.
Vamos a parar un ataque terrorista basado en hechos de la vida real contra el metro de Los Ángeles con una pequeña ojiva nuclear que cabe en un maletín que va a destruir gran parte de downtown. Va a ser peor que el 9/11.
We're going to stop a terrorist attack that's nuclear based, and it's going to be worse than 9/11 in downtown LA.
Basado en hechos reales de la vida real.
Based on true events.
Gracias a Dios me pude infiltrar con unos musulmanes que ellos me dijeron que ellos tienen permitido sacar el mayor dinero ilegal de los Estados Unidos, que le llaman el Gran Satán.
And thankfully, I got together with the Muslims, and we were able to take out that money, that great money. ¿Qué se llama?
El Gran Satán le dicen a Estados Unidos.
And the U.S. they call the great Satan, great devil.
Y a nosotros, los hijos de Estados Unidos, nos llaman los infieles.
And us, the sons of the U.S., call us the unloyal.
Y matan por una ridiculez que es su gloria de 72 vírgenes y un macho para las mujeres. Y por eso matan, por eso asesinan.
And that they kill because they're going to be promised 72 virgins and a horse.
Pero no lo ridiculizo porque son intolerantes.
I don't ridicule them because they're intolerable.
Mataron a los que caricaturizaron a Alá y Mohammed y sus paraísos en París, y los fueron y los asesinaron a los caricaturistas. O sea, son intolerantes.
So the intolerable, they're the ones they killed, Mohammed.
Y espero que no haya ningún musulmán, pero no quiero ofender a nadie.
I hope there's no Muslim here. I don't want to offend anybody.
Pero hace poco le pregunté a un musulmán en el hotel donde estaba, ¿denunciarías una conspiración de los yihadistas musulmanes que van a hacer un acto en contra de los Estados Unidos? ¿Lo denunciarías? Le pregunté.
And I asked a Muslim if there was a terrorist attack, would you tell on them? Would you let the authorities know?
Y bajó la cabeza. Y le digo, no. Y no dijo nada. Ya ves, le digo, eres fiel al Islam y no a los Estados Unidos, que te está dando cobijo, y a ti y a tus hijos.
He bowed down his head, and I told him, see, you're not loyal to the U.S., you're loyal to Islam. And, and to this, you're not loyal to this country, who's putting a roof over your head and helping your children.
Y no lo digo por maldad, sino por amor a los Estados Unidos y por a ellos, para evitarles ir a su tontería de paraíso.
And I don't say it with malicious, I have love for this country, and, I don't want to offend their paradise.
Y saqué un rema, que rema es palabra de Dios.
I took out a rhyme, that's word of God.
De el poder que le dio Jesús a Pedro, que le dijo, te doy las llaves del reino de los cielos. Lo que ates en la tierra será atado en el cielo. Lo que desates en la tierra será atado en el cielo. Así. El rema es le dijo a Pedro.
So he told Pedro, Jesus,
te daré las llaves del reino de
I'll
los
give you
cielos.
the keys to the kingdom of the heavens.
Lo que ates en la tierra,
It's what you do here on earth.
tie, or will you tie?
Look at what you tie.
En la tierra será atado en el cielo.
It'll be also tied in the heavens.
Lo que desates en la tierra será desatado en el
What you
cielo.
untie here in the land will also be untied in the heavens.
Con ese poder que Jesús le dio a Pedro, y si ya no vivo yo, mas Cristo vive en mí.
With that power that he gave to Jesus Christ, and if I don't live, it lives through him, through Jesus Christ.
Jesús es Dios.
Jesus is God.
El Hijo y el Padre uno son.
The Son and the Father are one.
La plenitud de la deidad, yo soy en el Hijo. La plenitud,
The
the
plenitude.
of deity, creo que es.
¿De quién?
De la deidad, deity, de la deidad.
Of the deity.
Yo soy, I am,
I am,
en el Hijo.
and the Son.
Y quien ve al Hijo, ve al Padre.
And who sees the Son sees the Father.
Compañeros, están viendo a Dios.
You guys are looking at God.
Y yo lo veo en ustedes, en todos y cada uno de ustedes, cristianos, hermanos.
And I see it in each and one, every person here, you brothers,
Porque
Christians.
I am no es exclusivo de I am Jorge Coronado. Es de todos y quiere ser de toda la humanidad, dice Cristo.
And that's not exclusive to oneself, it's for everybody, it's universal. That's what Jesus says.
Para que la humanidad sea una.
So humanity is one.
Como tú y yo, Padre, somos uno.
Like you, Father, we are one.
Y ellos, uno en nosotros.
And them, one in us.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Testigos de que, Cristo nos mandó.
Gracias, ya se acabó su tiempo. Ujú. Gracias. Si quiere dejar su información y ellos me lo pueden pasar a mí.
2 minutos nada más.
Si quiere, si va a hablar alguien más también después, si me da un momento ahorita agarro su información.
Tenía poco tiempo, si me pueden dar otros 5 minutitos después de...
Podemos hablar después, pero ahorita va a hablar alguien más.
Termino rápido.
Sí, tenemos que dejar a los demás que hablen también. Gracias.
Audrey Thomas is the next speaker.
Good evening, Council, City Council. You normally don't see students speaking to the council, so I'm taking this opportunity to be here with my mom and speak up. I recently earned the Martin Luther King Scholarship. There was only 2 people chosen from each district, Moreno Valley Unified and I can't remember the other one at the moment, Valverde. But I just wanted to highlight that, you know, the most important part about achieving this award was being able to see all the people who believed in me, and I was able to shake everyone's hand. And I just want to say thank you to Elena Cruz, for showing up for me. I really appreciate that. It felt really disrespectful that Ulysses Cabrera just left as soon as he spoke. It seems I've seen a trend with he just shows up for pictures and he shows up for the opportunity to say that he's here. And I've seen that in the I Matter conference. That's an event for girls to feel comfortable and feel confident. And, you know, it's a great program for girls to feel comfortable and safe and speak their mind. And he shows up with his political agenda, shakes hands, takes pictures, and automatically leaves before lunch, before the event's over. And I just want to see more representation, staying the whole conference, being able to communicate to the community other than adults, you know, maybe reach out to the students in a calm way. I remember I've introduced myself and then your wife said, "I don't even know you, sweetie." And she saw me at the event, and I told my mom, well, now she does. I got my scholarship award. So yeah, I just want to see more maturity in the council with that, showing up when it really matters and showing up to shake your hand at least before you just speak and leave. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Madam Clerk, any other speakers for tonight?
That concludes public speakers for items not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Ya lo apunté, menos de 5 minutos para terminar nada más.
Si puede, por favor, hablar con ella, ahorita anota su información.
Gracias.
Okay. We're now going to move on to public comments on matters on the agenda. If you wish to speak on any items on the consent calendar, you will have a total of 3 minutes to comment on all items on the consent calendar. If you wish to comment on any other items on the agenda other than the public hearing calendar, you will have a total of 3 minutes to comment on each item at the time the item is called up for consideration. But if we have a large number of speakers on a particular item, it may be necessary to reduce the amount of time for each speaker to comment on the item to allow the city council time to complete its business as described on the agenda, while allowing each speaker with an equal opportunity to speak on the item. In other words, if we need to reduce the amount of time for public comment on any given agenda item, because of the large number of speakers, each speaker will be provided with the same amount of time to comment. City Clerk, are there any requests to speak on any consent calendar items?
We have one, Roy Bleckard.
Okay. We will allocate 3 minutes per speaker.
Item A2 is my concern. You have an email in there, and we went through this since it started on December 6th, and you have the video. It was illegally past the consent calendar on that day. Anybody that disputes that, I would like to hear it. If that is not in dispute, then I want, as it was in the last meeting, it was at least corrected that that consent calendar was passed without taking public comments in violation of who knows how many laws. That had went on for a year. I went down to the County Board of Supervisors and invited our last mayor and current County Board of Supervisors to come out here and address this, because that was the last act he did before he stepped off this dais. If you don't think I'm an equal opportunity of holding everyone accountable for their actions, let's look at the record and the evidence. If there's a wrong, you should correct it. It should be, let's even say, not even an apology. We did wrong, we won't do it again. We will fix this. Maybe we'll even put the rules and procedures, and maybe we won't have conflicts in the meeting. Maybe we'll talk about that one day before I'm looking at the roots of the grass. I'm not that optimistic that it will happen, but there's always hope. Again, if you pass those minutes as they are written, I think you are, and I believe you're passing another illegal act. Until this issue is resolved on particularly that minutes, that meeting, and that action will be done, guess who you're going to keep hearing from? Because you should be following the rules and procedures so we can have some faith and trust in our government all across the board. It's not about personalities or who or that. Everyone else can have their own hate or love or anything else. That's not what I'm about. I'm about what's doing right and treating everyone equal when they walk in these offices, when they walk in this building, when they participate in our public. You want to fix a lot of the things that you hear all across the board? Try fixing that and see what happens. You might find things might work a little better for you.
That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us now to City Council opening comments. Would any council members like to make their reports and comments at this time? Seeing none, we're now going to move to our joint consent calendars, section A through E on the agenda. All items listed under the consent calendar, section A, B, C, D, and E are considered to be routine in nature and non-controversial, and may be enacted by one motion unless a member of the City Council or any affiliated agency requests that an item be removed for separate action. The motion to adopt the consent calendars is deemed to be a separate motion by each agency and shall be so recorded by the city clerk. Items withdrawn for report or discussion will be heard after the public hearing items. Are there any council items removed for separate action at this time? I see one request here from Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
I'd like to pull A2, B2, C2, D2, and E2.
Is that for questions or for a separate vote?
Oh.
That's for a separate vote. Okay. Anything else or any other council members? Okay. That brings us to City Council questions on consent items for discussion. Are there any council questions of staff? Seeing none. I entertain a motion by council to approve the consent calendars, excluding items A2, B2, C2, and D2. And
All motion.
E2.
Second.
A motion by Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, second by Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz. Please vote. That motion passes 5-0. That moves us to F for public hearings, but there are no public hearings scheduled for tonight's meeting. That moves us to item G, which is items removed from the consent calendar for discussion or separate action. And we had one request for A2, B2, C2, D2, and E2. And I'll go ahead and open it up for council questions of staff and any comments. I see a request by Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
The minutes as they're presented are different than they were presented at the last meeting. At the last meeting, there was notes in front of every item that we voted on before the consent to let the minutes show that we voted before the consent, and that was pulled last time. It was brought forward to us now without those indications. Why the change?
Yes, Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz, what we did is we went back and reviewed the video, and we placed the items as they were presented, and that was the change.
So the change shows that we made these items, there's just no, the previous minutes were in the order of the original agenda with
Yes.
notations, and rather this is in the correct order.
Yes.
So these minutes do show that we took all items that we were voting on
In that
before.
order.
And then here's the consent, or public comments.
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments? And I will just ask before make a motion to approve the items A2 through E2 to staff if there's any recommendation or if we should make any changes or anything before we vote on this particular item, hearing the public's concerns.
I'm not sure I understand his concerns, but we went back, we reviewed the video, and we took it just exactly, listed exactly like they came up. The item came up.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay, before I move on, any other council questions or comments on this item? Okay. And any requests to speak, Madam Clerk?
No, other than, no.
Yeah,
there
okay.
wasn't.
And at this time, I'll entertain a motion by the City Council.
Madam Mayor, when I'm looking at these, I'm seeing the public comments, and then I'm seeing the consent. Are you saying that public comments? Am I on the right meeting? Oh, I'm on the wrong meeting. Okay.
Was there anything else, Council Member? Do you need some more time, Council Member?
I just want to make sure that the public comments are after the consent, and they are. Oh, no, they're not. Right meeting? Pull up the minutes.
I think your microphone is off as well.
Okay, December 6th, roll call introduction, special order of business, consent. And then, where's the comments on what page? See here. And consent is before the comments, so then this indicates that we took the consent agenda before public comments, so we're putting that out in the public that we did that.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. That's A through E, A2 through E2.
A2 through E2, yes.
Copy.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. That passes 4 yeses and 1 abstention. That brings us now to item H on the agenda, general business. And we have 2 items under H. First is H1, and that is Senate Bill number 1100 regarding decorum at public meetings. And we have a report of City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Brown Act, prior to the adoption of Senate Bill number 1100, already authorized the presiding officer to clear the meeting room, to clear the chambers, in the event that there was a disruption at the at the meeting that hindered the city council's ability to conduct its business as reflected in the agenda. And what was missing from the Brown Act was a specific provision that permitted the mayor or the presiding officer to remove the individuals who were the source of the disruption. Although there was a case on the books out of Orange County that allowed the removal of individuals from who cause actual disruption to a meeting, a lot of cities did not enforce that because it was limited, arguably, to the district in which Orange County is located. So in response to, I read this Los Angeles Times article about the background of SB 1100, and it was claimed that it was due in part to the current political climate throughout the United States and all the rhetoric that was put forward regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. And this resulted, according to the reporter, in an alarming increase in disorderly conduct at public meetings across California and the United States. The authors of SB 1100 noted, and I quote, "As we have undoubtedly seen, many troubling incidents across the state, including those involving harassment and threats of violence, have demonstrated the need to protect public safety and public meeting access by modernizing the Brown Act so that it provides clearer standards around when removal of a meeting participant is warranted and what authority members of a legislative body can exercise." So effective January 1st, 2023, under the Brown Act, the mayor is now authorized, or the mayor's designee, to remove individuals from a council meeting for disrupting a meeting. Now, disrupting is defined in the law as engaging in behavior during a meeting of a legislative body, city council, that actually disrupts, disturbs, impedes, or renders infeasible the orderly conduct of the meeting. So they have a definition that specifically deals with what constitutes disruption. And an example of disrupting behavior includes failing to comply with any regulations that we have in place regarding the conduct of the meeting and public decorum. But I want to point out that this really deals primarily with conduct rather than the content of what is said. That's a really important distinction to me. It's about conduct rather than the content of the speech. So basically, Senate Bill 1100 is intended to provide kind of a new mechanism for the city council to maintain public decorum, while at the same time allowing the council to get through its business as reflected in the agenda. But here's what SB 1100 requires before somebody can be ejected from a meeting. So the presiding officer, the mayor, has to warn the individual that their behavior is disrupting the meeting and that failure to cease their behavior may result in removal. So first, we have to give a warning. The step 2 is that if the person fails to disengage from the disruptive behavior or conduct, that person can be immediately directed to, you can direct our bailiff or sergeant at arms to remove the individual. So practically speaking, once the mayor determines that an individual's behavior is disrupting the meeting, and again, actual disruption, the mayor must warn the individual that their behavior is disrupting the meeting and that continued disruptive behavior may result in their removal. That's the warning. And then if the disruptive individual continues their behavior, their disruptive behavior, the mayor may then order that the disruptive individual be immediately removed from the meeting so the council can continue along with its business without that individual being present. Again, this is different from what the law used to be, which allowed the mayor to clear the entire room with the exception of the media and to continue the meeting once we were assured, the mayor was assured that we can conduct a civil meeting that would allow the city council to get through its business. So, but it's important to note that SB 1100 also does not require a warning before removing any individual whose behavior includes the use of force or true threat of force. And again, that has to do with conduct. And a true threat of force, as defined in SB 1100, means a threat that a reasonable observer would perceive to be an actual threat to use force by the person making the threat. Now, it should be noted that SB 1100 does not prohibit public criticism of the policies, procedures, programs, or services of the city, nor is it intended to prohibit anyone from criticizing the city council for any of its acts or omissions. Instead, SB 1100 is intended to give the city council clear authorization to restore the meeting in the event of actual disruptions that may be caused by an individual or a few individuals. Again, the behavior before somebody can be removed has to cause actual disruption. The problem with SB 1100, though, from my perspective, is that it doesn't set forth any actual procedures or any protocol for how the council determines whether or not somebody's conduct is causing disruption. And it also does not set forth any definitions beyond any definitions as to what sort of conduct may be disruptive. And that means that perhaps the city council should consider adopting a policy sometime in the near future that specifically identifies what sort of conduct will not be tolerated, since that kind of conduct would cause actual disruption to our meetings. So that's my recommendation, is that sometime in the near future that we come back with specific procedures that identify when someone can be removed. So that concludes my report, and I'm ready to address any questions.
Thank you, City Attorney. That concludes the staff report. And that brings us to council questions of staff, if so desired. Please hit the speaker button here if anybody would like to ask any questions. Seeing none, that brings us to public comments on this item. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, we do. Christopher Baca, Roy Bleckard, and Russell Schaefer.
I guess we're going backwards on this list. Anyhow, I just wanted to point out how back in the day during the WLC and RICO wars, how Victoria and Jesse Molina next in and ex-Mayor Owings took the punches and put up with all the nonsense from the NIMBYs and the anti-growth people and so forth. And basically they understood the reality of the matter, that, your 3 minutes are your 3 minutes to say whatever you'd like to say and grievance your government. And that's exactly what this is all about. It's basically just reiterating what can be done and what can't be done during those 3 minutes, as long as one is not making threats or, so forth, and, using extremely vulgar language and so forth. I think that it's, appropriate to allow the person to just say what they need to say. For instance, is what I said earlier, and I'll say it again. Officer Reyes does not deserve to be on Moreno Valley Police Department, in my opinion, from my experience. And that's all I'm saying. And that's my right. And, I may be wrong. Maybe she is a great person. But from my experience, she's not. So otherwise, I just feel that this is just restating what can and cannot be said. And, there's really nothing to it. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Roy Bleckard, Russell Schaefer, and Bob Palomares.
I got a question on the revision of the law of that, and I think there's a provision in the rules and procedures where the council can override any decision of the presiding officer mayor. So would that be the case in this scenario, that if the presiding officer was indicating or wanting to throw out or incarcerate another member of the public for speaking, could a member call for a vote and a majority override? I bring this up again. You're probably going to crack up a little bit, but remember 1996 and the odious president of the Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate, Frank West, who had Victoria Baca arrested for expressing her 3 minutes and her right, and she won in court. And just do a little search engine on that, because that case comes up a lot in free speech cases. We have a lot of problems. And we know that the government has been weaponized against us. Teachers asked the Attorney General of the United States of America to suppress people from going and speaking at school board meetings because they didn't like what they were being said. And it was specifically over COVID and all this other stuff. And it's coming up again. That's what's dangerous about what's being talked about and how it was being framed and how it was being passed. That's why I think there needs to be, if there's not, and maybe you could address it through the rules and procedures, if it's not in there and if it's possible, because in anything, when one person makes a decision, everyone has biases. Everyone has likes and dislikes, and nobody applies everything equally. That's why we need checks and balances on this system, on every system. So again, if it's not clarified or isn't, and if it's possible to put that provision in there, I would suggest that the council explore that possibility, because the most dangerous thing to freedom is having one tyrant dictator ruin, and they can ruin stuff just like that. Moreno Valley's been a prime example of that. We have lots of examples. So again, I implore you to explore that so we do have a checks and balance. If this situation comes up, it's applied fairly.
The next three speakers are Russell Schaefer, Bob Palomares, and Luis Palomares.
Why now? Why here? Transparency and open government are the cornerstones of a strong democracy. Public access to the information and decision-making process gives residents the information and insight needed for civic engagement and ensure accountability. That is why guidelines need to be followed. SB 1100 states, 1. Warn the individual to the behavior is disrupting the meeting and may I say, result in removal. Remove individuals if they do not promptly cease disruptive behavior. But there is a case law already that addresses avenues to address disruptions. Under existing law, you can remove a person who makes slanderous, profane, or threatening remarks. If there is no disruption, there cannot and I say again, cannot be a removal. Acosta visits city of Costa Mesa. I remember that because I'm from Costa Mesa. While you city officials and Mayor Cabrera and the city attorney may not want to consider if an occasion arises for removal, if you really want to remove a disruptive individual to follow the new SB 1100, I would say tread lightly. You may not like what they say, as we do not need lawsuits, and individuals also have rights and freedom of speech. A lot of residents are tired of being in the newspaper. It is an embarrassment to Moreno Valley. Remember, you were elected to the position to hold by the same residents who can criticize its policies, procedures, and programs or services. Thank you.
The next speakers are Bob Palomares and Luis Palomares.
I think this is a good thing to have. It's been here. The only person, I think only once I've seen anyone asked to leave the council chambers and go into the lobby, and after the item was cleared, then they were led back in. And I think this is something that, you know, it touches the public because it's the public that you're talking about. But there's councilmen, an individual that violated my right, speaking just like I am right now, because he did not like what I was saying, and he not only violated my rights once or twice, but 3 times. And the former mayor, Gutierrez, told him, stop. We can be sued for that. And that's David Marcus. I know Shalinda Bernard and you, Ed, you know, I know where you're coming from, and believe me, I'm right with you. But you just don't know this man like some of us do. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As long as he's here, he's nothing but a liability to the city. And I'll always say that because I know it's true. But I want to be right where you are. But it's good that we have that. And that's pretty much all I got to say. And, you know, everybody pretty much behaves themselves. I know sometimes we don't like what people say, but they're entitled to that. You know, and that's just the way it is. That's America. Thank you.
The next speakers are Luis Palomares and Dr. Mary McBean.
Luis Palomares, community activist. I agree with the last speakers. They come to America on a plane, on a train, on a boat for these rights. Our veterans have fought for these rights. And we're going to be here whether they like what we say or not. We are the activists, and we've been doing this for a long, long time. Victoria Baca versus Unified School District. They walked her out of a meeting. Wow, there was a lawsuit there. And she didn't sue for $1. She sued to set a standard that anybody can go to any public meeting and say what they need to say and what they feel they want to say. And we've never been disrupted that they had to walk us out of a room because we know how to do this. I was out here. They were violating my First Amendment right. Daddy Cabrera, sorry. I had a sign out here. Ulysses being investigated by the Riverside County DA, and his son and Mr. Cabrera were blocking me. They didn't want me to. I had to call officers out there to help me. This was my First Amendment right. Whether they liked it or not, so be it. And I wasn't telling a lie or slandering because he was investigated by the Riverside County DA for the violation of the Brown Act. So that's my First Amendment right, and we're going to keep on coming and saying what we got to say. No matter, you don't want to hear it? Oh, wow. You're in those seats? Hey, people talk about me all the time on their Facebook, you know, behind the scenes, or they never come and say it to me. but they say it and half of it's garbage. And hey, oh well, I'm in this arena. I'm going to hear it. Oh well, it is what it is. So what? Now, some speakers come up here. They want to say what they want to say, and it's okay. And I let them. I can't stop them. But if I say something, oh, they want to shut me down right away. Oh, well, that's my First Amendment right. I remember at the last meeting, they took a break because our mayor panicked because of the mayor's duties were going to change. So he had to take a break to call his cousin Vinny, I guess. But nevertheless, I got up and I was going to go to the bathroom, and your wife, she's in the political arena. She turns around and tells me, because I was saying, oh, he's panicking. She says, you're out of order. 2 times she panicked. You're out of order. I go, excuse me, you're out of order. There's no meeting going on. It's a break. Come on. I can say what I want. She always approaches me. 4 times already she's approached me.
Ms. Palomares,
I've never approached her.
Just
oh, well,
to not talk about family members,
oh,
please.
okay, let's get back on the agenda item. So we're going to be out there, and we're going to keep on speaking no matter what. We're going to do it because this is, this is great that you put this on, but you should put other things on there. Like, let's study about the violation of the Brown Act and about putting your political signs on 3 weeks prior. Let's change that one up. Let's put that on agenda so people can know what that's about. We got to.
The final speaker is Dr. Mary McBean.
Good evening again. I'd like to go back and address what the city attorney was discussing about disruptive behavior with Senate Bill 11, but he only talked about conduct. He didn't talk about behavior in itself. Everyone is talking about they have a right to say what they want to say because it's free speech. But we have to have some decorum even in this free speech. I believe it's inappropriate, and it's my thinking, it's my right to say this. I believe it's inappropriate to use vulgar language when we're addressing the city council. So if we're going to respect their right to speak, well, then the city council should have a right to not have to be plummeted with the vulgarity of the language being hurled at them by the people coming to the dais to speak. So I think I heard something about possibly addressing some new policies. Well, if we do that, can we address policies about the language being hurled at the city council in reference to vulgarity? That's my comment.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us now to council deliberation, and if anyone would like to deliberate or make any comments, please hit your speaker button here. I do see a request from Councilmember Bernard.
So I have been reading Senate Bill 1100. I also understand that it is regarding meeting decorum and being able to address some of the issues for meeting decorum and what they quote unquote call disruptive behavior, and it's in response to the political climate over the last few years. I do think we need to tread lightly, and let me explain why we need to tread lightly. Everyone is talking about freedom of speech. And so if we want to go there, then we should start with the founding fathers of this country. And I bring this up also because previous meetings I've had to listen to public comments about founding fathers. So let me go ahead and break this part down. Founding fathers believe that we have to have freedom of speech in order for our government to work. And that if you're not going to allow for freedom of speech, then we get into a tyrant situation. As far as decorum goes, decorum to me and decorum to you can be 2 totally different types of decorum. So while one person may assume, as the previous speaker just said, that vulgarity shouldn't be included in freedom of speech, somebody else will say that it should. So when we're talking about disruptive behavior, meaning decorum, what I think this redress is for Senate Bill 1100 is actually dealing with threats of violence and harassment, which I'm sorry, I've come to these meetings for a few years now, and I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows, supposedly. This isn't the city of LA. where they have literally shut down meetings because they've been screaming, and they've let them scream for 20, 30 minutes, addressed them and said, listen, if you guys keep it up, we can't hold the meetings, where people are lined out into the street and they cannot conduct a meeting. What we're really getting to with us having this as a discussion, as a general business item, is a few speakers coming in that for whatever reason have rubbed council members and mayor the wrong way, and this is a way for someone to say, I want to go ahead and address that because I'm trying to put a cap on the meeting. When what we simply need to say is, keep the meeting focused on what we're discussing. If it's a non-agenda item, go ahead and make that comment. When you're starting to trail off course, and I'm looking at you, Mayor, because you are the presiding officer over this meeting. I can't step in and say they're getting off topic. You have to bring them back in, and you have to say, okay, remember this is the topic. That's what we're really discussing. We're not discussing having to put people out of these meetings because anyone's threatened violence, anyone's doing any of those things. We're unable to conduct a meeting. So I think we need to tread lightly when we're talking about what we're going to determine, because a lot of what I've heard here, honestly, isn't disruptive enough for me to even feel like personally they should be put out of a meeting on either side of any conversation, because everyone has the right to say it, whether I agree with it or not. Did I agree that she was up here using profanity? No, but she was passionate, and that's what she was saying. Just like I didn't agree with the speaker a few weeks ago who said, and I quote, "We're supposed to be submissive to you because you're the mayor and you're the head and we're the body." Like, it is what it is, right? So I think we need to tread extremely lightly when you start getting into this kind of conversation.
Thank you, Councilmember. We have a request from Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Thank you. This Senate bill is not anything that we need to vote on. It's not anything that we need to adopt. This is just giving us, or the presiding officer, the right to remove the single person instead of shutting down the meetings like we've been doing. This does not affect anybody's rights at the podium. You still have your time, and if your expression includes a couple of F-bombs, so be it. That is your right. There is no reason that anybody up on this dais should interrupt you, take your time from you, take your train of thought by interrupting your speech. That is wrong. And I'm saying it up here right now. That is against your rights. You have those 3 minutes, just like this moment right now. I pressed my speak button. I was recognized by the chair, and this is my time. Whether I throw an F-bomb out there or not is my right. So let it be known that this is in no way to restrict your free speech. What this Senate bill says is if one person is interrupting the meeting, previously we'd have to clear the room, try and get the disruption under control. Now we could give them a warning and ask them to step out or ask them to be removed and continue our meeting. We won't be held hostage by disruptions. We can remove the disruption and continue the meeting. This is to continue our business. No way has this superseded your constitutional rights. My dad used to say to people, I don't leave my constitutional rights at the door. You take them into the schoolhouse, you bring them into City Hall, you take them to any public meeting, and you have the right to criticize us. I've been criticized from the podium, and that is your right. And that you have because back in 1996, which is almost 30 years we've been at this podium speaking up for the residents, speaking up for those who don't have a voice. For all of this time, since 1996, thank you, Roy, when Victoria Baca was removed by Frank West from the meeting, Judge Masali down in Riverside said, no, you cannot allow people to come up to the podium and say what a great job you're doing, and then the next person who says you're doing a horrible job and stop them and say, no, you can't talk about our personnel. No, that's not going to happen. You have the right to address us. We're public figures, and if we don't like it, we can resign. So thank you for coming to the podium. I'm sorry if you're interrupted when you're speaking, and hopefully this will not happen again now that we have been shown that the law says you have those rights. So I apologize for that.
Next, we have Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, my fellow council members, for your comments. Very well put. I'm not going to reiterate what they said, but I do want to say that I read the bill as well, and it is for major disruption. So I don't feel that we need a policy, or we need, and I think that the city attorney commented that we need to adopt some provisions or some policies or change some rules here. I don't think we do. I think if we just follow the bill the way it's written, and like Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz said, is that we remove that individual that this council determines, or the chair determines is disruptive, then I think we're good. I don't think we need to draft anything else. So I just wanted to throw that on record that I think that the bill is very self-explanatory, and it does the job that I think that we're trying to say as far as the way we want our council meetings to go. So.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And just a few brief comments. Seeing no other requests here to speak on this one. This is a receive and file, so thank you for the report, City Attorney. That's very helpful just to be updated on this new legislation that's coming down and that cities have to follow. And the next item is a completely separate topic, but I think it's important for us to just hear this, to reiterate this information so that we're all aware of what the law allows and what it prohibits, more for public education. So I won't reiterate what my colleagues have said because I agree with pretty much all of it, right? We all have the First Amendment right to speech. I've been up here on the dais and have claimed my First Amendment as well when I was being shut down by other members of the council and my mic being turned off. I had to stand up for myself as well. And so I agree that I don't think we should go down the path of creating any particular policies or anything that specifies what is disruptive behavior. We should not go down that path. So I agree with Mayor Pro Tem on that. But this is just more, again, to let the public know and let us know up here on the dais what we can and cannot do. And I'll just end with this, that kind of what Councilmember Bernard was talking about, that, of course, we respect everyone's First Amendment freedom of speech. But just because, and this is one thing that we actually learn in basic ethics when we first get elected, is you ask yourself two questions. One, is something legal or illegal? And the second question is, if it's legal, how is it going to look to the public, right? The decision that you make. So even though using an F-bomb or something might be within your legal rights, it doesn't make it right to do that again. So I'm just hoping that moving forward we can have more decorum, everybody could be more respectful to each other, and I think even Mayor Pro Tem mentioned it one time meetings ago, that if your son was watching this meeting, you would be very disappointed. And so just moving forward, if we could all be more respectful, try not to use profanity. Again, we respect everybody's First Amendment, but let's just be a little bit more respectful and be conscious of everybody that's watching here. So I'll leave my comments there, and I will ask one more time if there's any other requests or comments on this particular item. Okay, seeing none, we're just gonna go ahead and take a quick. Okay, give me 1 minute. Where there's been a request by a council member. Okay, so we're gonna take a break after this, but there's one more. Is there one more request to speak, Madam Clerk?
Okay. We were just handed a speaker slip from Linda Thomas.
And do we need to vote, because we already moved past public comment, do we need to vote to open that, or can we just go ahead and call the public speakers?
That should be up to you as a presiding officer.
Okay, so we can just go ahead and call the public speakers back up to speak?
Yes, and there's a different rule for public hearings, but in this situation, you can make that determination.
Okay, just want to make sure. Yeah, it looks like we might have a couple more public speakers. So let's go ahead and, Madam Clerk, call up the next speakers, please.
Okay, Linda Thomas and Michelle Davis.
Linda Thomas, and I want to address the fact that you guys are expecting a different behavior, and I am embarrassed, but I am more frustrated to the fact that I have supposedly so-called leadership that is not leadership. And I say it because I do want it to be public, because when you were running your campaign, Ulysses, your campaign manager did an FPPC and included my family, and it got delivered to my husband's employment address. I have 3 addresses in Riverside, in Moreno Valley, and 2 in Riverside. Anywhere else but his employment. You're trying to destroy my family. And I can bring the document. I also have Marquez's abuse of power, and I could bring it to the council.
Ms. Thomas.
Also, his daughter trying to run over my husband.
Thomas, can you give me 1 second?
And they're slandering me.
Can you please just keep it to the topic
yes.
on the agenda, please?
And it's because you guys are expecting different from us. But if we are being constantly, in this position where we have so much to say about you guys, about you, about Marquez, it is my right to come in, criticize you, and call you out, because you're supposed to be an adult and act like an adult and act like a leader in our community, and you don't. Over and over. You also claimed to call the police on my husband, and that was for false reasons. You were the one trying to provoke us. How does that make you look? You're immature. So because of your immaturity, and, he's supposed to be the oldest up there, showing, a different kind of example. And he's the worst example of a councilman. And you're following his footsteps. And doesn't that make you embarrassed? And your father, supposedly, all of his morals and values, well, you're following his because he was your campaign manager too.
We're not going to talk about families, please.
You're not. But he was running your campaign, and he comes over to the podium, and he's like, "My son, my son, my son." Well, sorry to tell you, sir, he's not the values and the morals and everything that everybody else is claiming. And all of those nonprofit leeches, well, yeah, they have amazing things to say because they're waiting for their money. So, yeah, great if I...
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Michelle Davis is the next speaker.
I just understood when they said kind of stay on the agenda item. And so I did just see this kind of going to the left off of the... So I'm out there confused, like, are we speaking on the item? So however, let me get to the item. I believe that when you're coming into a place and we're trying to set the bar for the younger generation to come in and come under, because I know they have a seat for the youth and things like that, but if they see a lot of confusion, a lot of drama, and, like you said, LA is a total, I came from LA, and I sat on the board, and I seen all hell breaking loose. I seen people can't get the work done. I saw everybody pointing fingers at everybody, and nobody could move past everybody else's mistakes that came before, that came after. I look at it like the people that are here now, it's new faces, and it should be a new leaf that should be turned over. I feel that when you're dealing with coming up here, I've come from a place of speaking out, of being passionate. I was in Watts, and you can imagine all the things that were going on there and all the corruption. And even though I was passionate, I always spoke with dignity. They'll be like, "Oh, Michelle, you seem like you're upset." No, I'm speaking from a passionate place, but I didn't cuss. I didn't disrespect the people that sat on the panel. It's a level of respect that comes with individuals. And yes, you got to give respect to get respect. But at the end of the day, if people, I've sat here and I kind of noticed a lot of things I discern when I come in here, and I see some people are sent in here to directly target a person, but I feel like, you know, hey, you guys may not need what they're saying, you know, some bylaws or whatever to pass to how people respect one another or what they say and the freedom of speech. Yeah, it is a freedom of speech, but I think people should also know that this stuff is being going out to the public, going out to kids are watching, parents are watching. And when I look at it, it's like a lot of times, I don't know if I'm getting off subject, but it's to destroy a person's character, you know? And I just think that people have the right to stand in their truth, you know? And I do believe that moving forward, it should be a level of respect that everybody should be looking towards in this new everybody being elected up there. You know, I believe everybody deserves a chance. I don't know anybody, but what I have learned about a lot of people is that some people may be hurt about things, and I see some people have people maybe coming in. I sit back and I watch and I observe everything, and I don't think that that's the right way to go about that.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Thank you. And at this time, I'm going to just make a motion to, okay, I see Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz. Okay. So we're going to take just a quick 2-minute break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to our regular city council meeting. We just took a quick recess and we're gonna pick right back up where we left off. And that brings us to the end of council deliberation. And this time, do we need to take a vote on this just to receive and file? Do we need to vote on this?
No.
We can just move on. Okay, thank you very much. So we will move on now to item H2, which is Senate Bill number 1087, SB 1087, and, excuse me, SB 1087 and AB 1740 pertaining to catalytic converter theft. And we have a report of our city attorney.
Well, before tonight, I couldn't tell the difference between a catalytic converter and a transmission. But this doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. This all has to do with theft. So Senate Bill 1087 and Assembly Bill 1740 were adopted about the same time and signed by the governor. And basically, these two bills amend the California Business and Professions Code, which addresses licensing requirements and regulations for certain types of businesses, such as recyclers of catalytic converters. And these bills also amended the California Vehicle Code, which addresses issues pertaining to vehicles and parts of vehicles, like catalytic converters. So we have this law that is in different sections of the state codes, which is confusing at times. So that's probably one of the reasons why the mayor wanted me to present this issue. So it's important to note that this law applies to what are labeled or called core recyclers. And a core recycler is any person or business that buys catalytic converters that come without a vehicle. So somebody gets a catalytic converter and brings it into a recycler to recycle. So if there is a catalytic converter attached to a vehicle, then this doesn't apply because they're basically purchasing the vehicle. So what's really significant about these new laws is that core recyclers cannot buy catalytic converters for recycling or for any other purpose other than from the following. They can buy from another core recycler. They can buy from a licensed automobile dismantler. They can buy from a licensed vehicle manufacturer or a car dealer. They can buy from a licensed automotive repair dealer, or they can buy from any other licensed business, and licensed business means licensed by the state, that possesses or sells used catalytic converters. And they can also buy from a vehicle owner who owns a vehicle from which the catalytic converter was removed. The problem before is that there is no, people can bring in a catalytic converter and basically not provide evidence that they actually own that vehicle from where that catalytic converter came from. So the purpose of this particular amendment to these laws was to zero in on the fact that a lot of these thefts have been are occurring involving people who are stealing catalytic converters and don't own the cars they came out of. So under the new law, core recyclers are, if they purchase a catalytic converter, there has to be a written agreement involved. And this written agreement has to list each catalytic converter they purchase from anyone, and they have to describe each sufficiently so it makes it easier for law enforcement to match that description in the agreement with the used catalytic converters they have in their inventory. And in addition to this written agreement, recyclers must maintain a record of all purchases of their catalytic converters, and they have to include the following information. They have to include the business name, the commercial business they bought it from, the name of the person representing the business. They have to provide a physical business address and a business telephone number for the business they bought the catalytic converter from. They have to include the date of the transaction and the total number of catalytic converters they purchased from this individual or this business. And they also have to include the amount of money they paid for the catalytic converter. If the catalytic converter is purchased from somebody who claims to own the vehicle from where that catalytic converter came from, the recycler has to have the seller's full name, a valid driver's license number, or a California ID number. They have to have a license plate number, and the state license plate was issued for the vehicle from which that catalytic converter came from. They had to provide the place and date that the converter was purchased. They had to provide a description that includes the number of converters they bought from an individual or commercial enterprise, the amount paid, the identification number, and the year, make, and model of the vehicle from where that catalytic converter came from. And they also had to provide the vehicle identification number. And in addition, they also have to, the recycler has to include a statement indicating that the seller is the legitimate owner of this catalytic converter. And finally, if an individual takes in a catalytic converter to one of these recyclers, the recycler has to demand and maintain a copy of the title or registration that's showing the VIN number for the vehicle. And they have to keep all this information for a minimum of 2 years. They also, these laws also, I believe, amended the fines for violating this new law. So the first conviction is subject to a $1,000 fine. Second conviction is a $2,000 fine. And for the second conviction, the court may order that the defendant recycler shut down shop for a period of up to 30 days. For a third and fourth and subsequent convictions, it's $4,000. And this can be a $4,000 fine for each catalytic converter they purchased from somebody who was not authorized to sell catalytic converters to this recycler. And then once they get past that third conviction, the court shall, there's no discretion, the court shall order the recycler to basically shut down for a period of no less than 1 year. So that's a heavy hammer that we now have over these recycling facilities that illegally accept or purchase stolen catalytic converters. The last thing I'd like to point out is that this is considered to be a state mandate, which means that the city has an obligation to enforce this law. And unfortunately, it's a state mandate that does not come along with any state funds to pay for our cost of regulating and enforcing this law, which is a big deal, particularly for a city like us, who apparently have a lot of recyclers out there who actually recycle or purchase and recycle catalytic converters. So that basically is the law as it applies in California in regards to catalytic converters. And I should point out too that on a percentage basis, California has the largest proportion of catalytic converters stolen. And that's not just based on our population, that's based on, it's based on a percentage of our, of the vehicles that are located in California. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, City Attorney. That brings us to public comments on this item. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, we do, Mayor. Daryl Terrell, followed by Bob Palomares, followed by Roy Blickard.
My name is Daryl Terrell. I live here in Moreno Valley. Good evening. Again, I support this catalytic converter law because it's about accountability. But it's about holding people accountable for what they've done, which we have never done at this level. But, our justice system as a whole has become a revolving door for criminals. And when I'm speaking of accountability, I'm talking about AB 75. Well, I'm talking about Prop 47, because I see this stuff every single day. Somebody come in our store and steal, their name, and they come in our store and stealing. And what AB 75, I want you guys to look at, it restores Prop 47 serial shoplifting penalties, increase the penalties for petty theft with multiple prior thefts related convictions. But it requires a approval by the voters. But AB 75 is about accountability. AB 47 has impacted our community. Like I said before, I see it every day. These people come in, they take what they want, they walk out, and they happy they robbed us blind. There's nothing we could do about it. So I had to sit there and had to take it. But what this bill does, it holds these folks accountable, because Prop 47 has been a failed experiment in criminal justice reform that needs to be changed and hold these people accountable. It was intended to keep nonviolent criminals out of crowded prisons and treat low-level criminals with more compassion, which is a shame. Among other things, the law more than doubled the amount of what a suspect could steal before facing a felony, from $450 to $950. Although theft is still illegal, shoplifting is considered a low-level property crime under Prop 47. But shoplifters must steal over $950 worth of goods to be charged with the felonies. And so we see these people come in, and what I'm asking this council to do, we need to take a stand on this issue. I have no more sympathy. I have no more compassion for people that come into our store business. Even the business in our community, the small business community, get hit like on Sunnymead Boulevard. There's nothing we could do about it. And this council needs to take a stand on this bill, read the bill, take a stand. Mayor, you sign a letter to overthrow this thing, and let's do something about protecting the small business community. Not only that, it happens in our own neighborhoods, because it rolls into our neighborhood. It makes us unsafe. It makes the neighborhoods unsafe. So I want you guys to take a stand on this, and let's do something about Prop 47. I'm tired of all this compassionate stuff. These people need to be in jail. Thank you.
Bob Palomares, followed by Roy Bleckard.
I thought that this catalytic converter bill fell into the category. You know, if you go back a few years, there was a lot of people recycling copper, getting on roofs, stealing off condensers, AC condensers, and they passed a law where all of the recyclers had to take your license, everything, and they'll mail you a check for the amount that you sold so that it could be held. And if there was a complaint, hey, somebody stole some rails off the 605 aluminum rails, they'll say, hey, somebody brought some cut up. Well, we know who it was. But I don't think these people, and I don't know for sure, I don't think these people are taking the catalytic converters to recyclers. They're taking them to salvage yards. Because who can sell a catalytic converter? A salvage yard, just like he sells a fender, a hood, a bumper, or whatever else. So, I mean, it's good though. I'm glad they're doing it, because it needs to, it needed to happen. I mean, it's costing people a lot of money. When you got to shell out $1,000 out of your pocket to put one in, because your deductible's $1,000, well, there you are. You're stuck with it. And you won't really know how important this bill is unless you go out there and your catalytic converters are gone. Then you're going to hear it and you're going to say, man, let's get that meeting going again. But yeah, this is a good one. This is one that's going to help everybody. So thank you.
Roy Bleckard, followed by Luis Palomares.
Things happen for a reason. You're going to find out why. But as Bob pointed out, this law is just, and it's a good law, I'm not against it, but it's just going to create a black market on what's doing, and you're not stopping it. You're not stopping the core principal problem, catalytic converter theft. I interviewed Councilmember Todd Rogers of Lakewood. That council passed a ordinance that put in together a private patrol to take a look and enforce things like this in their community so they could free up officer hours, which are very expensive, to do more important crimes. The reason I say this is ironic is about 6 months ago, Bob Palomares, Darrell Terrell, and myself put speaker slips on item A8, which was $5.5 million to spend on public safety, and you allowed no public comment on it. These items did not get discussed. Furthermore, you are putting 100% at risk the citizens of Moreno Valley, not only for the theft crime, a catalytic converter, and everything else, by the actions that happen on this council. It all starts with the tyrant actions of not allowing free speech and open debate. And those that run from it, or those that say, I'm not going to tell you. I hope it makes it more clear why some of us come up here and fight like hell, and to endure, just like I'm going to do and go over to the Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate here in a few minutes, and then maybe to Valverde tonight, because of your action. Because you want to make it more difficult so we can't hear, so you can enrich your friends, your buddies, and whoever you think is going to benefit. That has to stop. You should be working for the people. You should be holding more debates. You should be holding more study sessions, and you should be exploring more ways that you're going to make this community safer, a better environment for everyone in this community. So maybe people will come here and be proud. And this will be a shining standard that everybody will look up to.
Luis Palomares is the final speaker.
Luis Palomares, community activist. You know, I agree with everything Bob said, and everything Roy said, and Darrell Terrell also. But there's a big but here, because we gotta, you know how many people watch this meeting? 100, 150 people on a good day, good night? You know, we gotta send out that information like we're on a campaign trail. That's what we gotta do, Ulysses Cabrera. We gotta give the people the information, the thieves, whatever, you know, we gotta give them the information. That's what we gotta do. If they don't know, oh, they're gonna keep on doing, well, they get caught sooner or later, but in the meantime, how many catalytic converters got stolen? I have a granddaughter, lives in La Puente. They took hers during the Christmas. You know, it was awful. So I'm glad we're talking about this, and I'm glad it was on the agenda. And Darrell Terrell's been coming and talking about it, and that's great. And he's sick and tired of it, all of it. And so are we as, you know, as community, as a community. Now, as far as Roy said, the freedom of speech stuff, okay, we have to run from this meeting to that meeting to this meeting. I know I'm getting off subject, but, you know, we got to give people the information. I believe we could put things on the agenda. I'm requesting this council to put the agenda about the illegal Brown Act. Educate the people. A lot of people don't even know what the heck when we're talking about it, what does that mean? And I explained to them. So we need to put that on an agenda item, a study session about putting up your signs prior to the date that the code says you could put them up. We need to put that on our agenda, please. So as far as this catalytic converter, it's great. Keep it going. Educate, 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 because the thieves ain't gonna know, because they don't watch this meeting. Let them know. Let them know. So thank you and have a good evening.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us now to council deliberation, if desired. And if any council members would like to speak, please make sure to hit your speaker button. I'll make sure to get to you. And on this one, I would like to just go ahead and start the deliberation. I did ask for this, as many members of the public have already mentioned, that this is an important topic. There's many other things that we have to focus on, but this is one of the things that we have to deal with and our constituents deal with on a regular basis, unfortunately. And since it's new legislation that was passed at the state level that the city has to implement and be in compliance with, I thought that this was a important thing to put on the agenda as well, so that we could have this discussion and, as was just said, make sure that one of the things that comes out of this is that we get this information to those who need to hear the information the most, and that would be everybody that this applies to, whether it's the recyclers or possibly mechanics, maybe even people who are not directly affected by this legislation, but indirectly affected. They need to be aware of this as well. So unfortunately, over the past several years, we've seen an uptick in property crimes, not just catalytic converter theft, but we could talk about mailbox theft. We could talk about porch pirates. There's a number, smash and grabs. There's a number of property crime issues that have been taking place and have been upticking. But this is part of, I guess, those efforts to address, in this case, catalytic converter theft. And so I believe that this will help. It will make a difference. It has to be addressed. And this is only one small part of a possible solution. I think that there are other possibilities out there in terms of putting laws in place here, even at the city level, that might be able to help in addressing catalytic converter theft. Because, as someone mentioned as well, I mean, to repair a catalytic converter on your car could be anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000. That could be somebody's monthly rent. That could be someone's mortgage payment. And for a lot of people, that could mean having a roof over your head or not. And so this particular issue is extremely important. And I do hope that this piece of legislation helps. And with that, also, I know staff is already working on all of this. You're being very proactive with this one. And so my hope here is that we just make sure that this information, this legislation, gets to the people that it needs to get to ensure that they're aware of the consequences if they're not in compliance with the law. And that way we hold some of those people accountable. With that being said, someone also mentioned this during public comment. This is not going to solve catalytic converter theft. Criminals are going to get creative, just like any other time that a government puts in place some kind of restrictions or prohibitions. People find ways around it, and the black market is going to still be there. So we have to, again, talk about these issues and figure out other ways that we can address it, work with our public safety personnel to make sure that we are addressing this crime. So we need to keep monitoring the black market and making sure that we are staying on top of the information that is collected by recyclers and mechanics, etc. And a separate note, but related, Mr. Terrell brought up Prop 47 and brought up the judicial system and other inefficiencies that our system has. And I know that currently we're in a new legislative cycle, and one of the pieces of legislation that is being proposed right now is to add judgeships, to add judges here to Riverside County to address a lot of issues that we're having. So I just want to mention that. I won't go into it anymore, but in one of our upcoming meetings, I'm going to be asking for us to take a look at our legislative priorities, which stipulates what types of legislation the city of Moreno Valley takes a stance on, what kind of pieces of legislation we actually send letters of support for, and also when we're going up to Sacramento and lobbying, meeting with our legislators, making sure that we have our priorities laid out and we know exactly which legislation we need to put our efforts behind. So I'll leave it there. I want to thank our staff for working on this already. Thank you, City Attorney, for putting this staff report together, and I'll end my comments there. I do see a request to speak from Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I just had a question. I don't know if it's for you, City Manager or Chief. What are we doing to push this out to the people that really need to receive this information? Are we doing any outreach to our businesses or people that will be impacted that would have to change their rules?
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Baca, for the question. So, yes, this is as the City Attorney mentioned, this is a unfunded state mandate. However, we have really retool and work with our community enhancement team, and for the past 30 days, they have actually visited all 145 businesses that pertain to recycling centers, dismantling shops, mechanic shops, and auto body shops. So they have actually visited all the businesses and provided them the information about these two laws. And I'm working on a plan to come back also is probably in the next 30 days, we will be sending letters to these 145 businesses to educate them on the two laws. And then in 60 days, we'll probably put together a hotline so that residents can call if they suspect that any potential businesses are purchasing these catalytic converters illegally, that they could call in and provide a tip, and we will have our community enhancement team investigate. And finally, we will probably be implementing an annual inspection of the 145 businesses that are potentially part of this two laws. So that's what we're planning on. Kind of burst my bubble. We've been working on it ever since the law passed, but hopefully in 60 days we could implement phase 1, 2, and 3, and also with the annual inspection. Thank you.
Next, we have Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Thank you, Mike, for that information regarding what we're going to do. And I think the biggest part of this is the audits. We can sit here and the bill can, say what it's going to say, but if we don't enforce it and we don't follow up, it's going to continue. But I think we have a good plan. So in saying that, I would like to ask the mayor to show you guys what a catalytic converter is and what it looks like, because most of them are under our cars and we've never seen them. So we brought a couple and a couple different models. While he's showing you, I'm just going to tell you that the top 5 cars, they still catalytic converters are. The Honda Accord from years 2003 to 2007, and I can attest to that. My daughter's car was a victim of that when I came out, and I started it up, and it sounded like a speed racer. Toyota Prius 04 to 15, Toyota Tacomas 04 and up. RVs, every RV has 2 catalytic converters. I don't know if you guys knew that, but they're a prime target. And then the Excursions and F-250s. And it costs your insurance, whatever your deductible is, but it's between $1,800 to $2,200 for a repair, and I can attest to that as well. So in Moreno Valley, 2021, we had 120 reported catalytic converter thefts. In 2022, we had 192, so that's up like 40%. So it's going to continue to rise if we don't do something. So this bill is necessary, and it's only as good as we make it. And I think by following up and doing our audits, it's going to be well worth it. So here's the big one from an RV. And these are I asked Marcos Villalobos from Lobos Towing to grab a couple of these for us because he's got friends in repair shops, and these are legal, folks. These are legal. They're not recycles. So I've never seen them, and the prime value of these is rhodium and palladium inside them. They take them apart and they sell them for those precious metals. So. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing this to our city. And like one of the members of the public said, only 150 people, and that's just an average, and we don't know what the number is, are watching this. But if they spread the word and then we get our campaign out there that this is not going to be tolerated in the city of Moreno Valley, they're going to go somewhere else. And we're just going to make it hard for them. And that's all we can do. It's like locking your front door. If they want in, they're going to get in, but we're going to make it hard for them. So lock your doors. Word.
Well said, Mayor Pro Tem. And thank you to Marcos Villalobos, Lobos Towing, for bringing the catalytic converters here for a little show and tell.
Said he had to take him back. I don't know where he's going, but.
Okay. Any other requests to speak from the council? Okay. Seeing none, this is also a receive and file. So we'll go ahead and, unless there's any motions or requests.
Good job, Steve.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to item I on the agenda, which is City Council reports. And we have a few reports here tonight. I see Councilmember Marquez, you have RTA and RCA. If you'd like to go ahead and start, and we'll move on to the next ones.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I want to make this quick because I got some throat problems here. Tonight, I'll be providing updates from the RTA, Board Administration, and Operations. meetings held on February 1st and directors meeting on January 26th. Excuse me. The committee has had a presentation regarding the RTA information technology needs and authorized the award of an agreement to Hellstorm for information technology managed services. The board also seeked presentation from the, it's a service plan, excuse me, authorizing, excuse me, authorizing staff to seek public comments on the RTA service plan that will be going into effect earlier this year. And that concludes my report on the RTA. On the RCA, the only thing I have is the Board of Directors approval of amendments to the MSHCP mitigation fees implement manual. This is just says what they're going to be charging the cities for. The updates provide clarity to members of the agencies. That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Marquez. Next, we have a report of WRCOG by Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Good evening. I am a new member of the Western Riverside County Council of Governments, and on that committee, 19 cities have one representative each. Eastern Municipal Water Board as well as Western Municipal Water Board have a representative, and 4 of the county supervisors sit on the council. So that's a total of 26 members, I believe. My math might be off. And I did go to an orientation on Friday nights in preparation of yesterday's meeting. I attended yesterday's meeting, and the executive committee adopted the WRCOG 2022 through 2027 strategic plan, and that is available to view at wrcog.us. And my other committee is the City School District and City Joint Task Force, but that only meets every even or odd numbered month, so that would be next month. That concludes my reports. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one last report from RCTC, and I'll be giving that report here tonight. Just a few updates from the RCTC Budget and Implementation Committee meeting held on January 23rd. The committee approved the fiscal year 22-23 mid-year budget adjustments for a net increase of approximately $2.5 million and $3.5 million in revenues and expenditures, respectively. The committee also heard a briefing regarding state and federal legislative updates. And just moving forward, we actually have our main board meeting tomorrow, and I'll be attending that now as the representative, and just make sure that we're doing everything we can to bring transportation dollars and infrastructure dollars here to the city through RCTC. So we'll make sure to work really hard on that as well. So that concludes the City Council reports for I-1. That brings us to I-2, which is Employee Association reports. We have none tonight. Next, we have I-3, which is the famous city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. So just 3 items tonight. First, there was a speaker earlier this evening. She was a homeless person, and staff did reach out to her and were able to put her in contact with Salvation Army. So she did receive a rental hotel voucher for tonight, and we'll be meeting with her with the Salvation Army to see if we get her into the rental assistance program. So that's taken care of. Second item is I'm happy to announce that our new Public Works Director, Melissa Walker, she comes to us from 32 years in San Bernardino County, extensive experience in the whole realm of public works. She joined our city last year, and we did open recruitment on the Public Works Director. And as always mentioned, a lot of our staff are just top-notch, and she came out on top, and she's our new Public Works Director. So welcome, Melissa, to our team. And lastly, just a reminder, you're probably going to mention this, Mayor, but our first Beautify Mobile for this year is this Saturday, 2/11 from 8 to 12. So please come, and you can sign up early or just come and join. We're going to have refreshments in the morning and also food after the cleanup at the park. We're going to do West Bluff Park and also JFK Memorial. So come out and join us, and we'll see you on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. That brings us now to reports and comments from council members who did not speak earlier. We will have 5 minutes for closing comments each. And we will start off with Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Thank you. The first item I want to report on is my attendance at the League of California Cities. They hold a new mayor and city council member academy every 2 years. Mayor Pro Tem Delgado and I were elected prior to most of the people that we met over last week. Most people had just been elected in November. Nonetheless, it was very informative. The training allowed us to receive both of our certificates in harassment prevention as well as public ethics. Those were both 2-hour required courses that we took. We also attended the Know Your Cal Cities, and that provided us the opportunity to understand that what the organization can help us achieve. We also attended sessions that included working effectively with your city manager team, as well as your legal powers and obligations. In fact, it was that legal powers and obligations session where I was informed that anytime we travel using public funds that we are required to report out, and that is why I'm reporting out today about the sessions that I attended. That was just the first day. On the second day, I started the morning at 7:45 in the morning with public ethics and continued to learn about policy and land planning, effective advocacy, key city issues. We watched a skit of an irregular council meeting, allowing us to look at what the do's and do nots. A lot of the actions there were very familiar. We had a lot of time to network, and I was even told that the previous year on the city clerk track, Moreno Valley was the case that they were studying. So it was kind of weird for everyone to know exactly where Moreno Valley was. The end of that second day was social media and digital communications and civil engagement. In that session, I learned that a Brown Act violation can happen without even our knowledge. If Mayor Pro Tem posted on his Facebook, we're having a meeting tonight, we're going to talk about the horrible catalog converter law that just passed, come and speak out against it, and I like it. That's 2 of us. If one of the other members sees it, that's a Brown Act violation. So we got to be real careful with liking each other's because it can cause conflict, and especially what we post. So we want to make sure that we're keeping to items that don't cause violations. So there was a lot of informative opportunities at these sessions. The third day was only a half day, so we started off with, or actually it was 2 sessions of the same one. It was financial responsibilities and city revenues workshop. So it was 3 full days and 3 nights over in Universal City Walk. And I really appreciate the opportunity to attend and learn so much so that I could be a better advocate for our residents here, especially in Moreno Valley, but especially in District 1. I don't know if anyone has noticed, but I've certainly noticed Sunnymead Boulevard has been looking a lot better. We've been forwarding all of your complaints, all of the complaints I've been receiving, all of the heads up over to both police and code. They have been quick on the response. Sunnymead Boulevard is not done. I understand that some more sweeps are coming up the later part of this week. So if you see a lot of cleanup, it's because of our staff as well as our residents calling up and saying, hey, you need to come and look over here. Because, we're not able to reach every inch of the city, but with all of us working together to bring these issues to light, we can get them resolved a lot quicker. So I appreciate all the residents reaching out and also our city staff addressing the complaints. I know that we have funded 3 CBAT teams, and right now we only have 1 out there, so I'd like to prioritize hiring so that we can get 3 teams, especially with the incident that just happened this week. So I renew my, I just want to say that we really need to get on that. And I really appreciate that we had the Spanish translation here. Victoria Baca was also pushed that. We started that at the school district, and we have that here. So I really appreciate that. I think in the beginning of the meeting when we announced our translation services, that announcement should also be made in Spanish, so those who do require the services can understand that the services are required in Spanish. So maybe a little adjustment to our opening statements. I want to renew my request that we look at possibly moving our meetings on a day that is not so heavily burdened with other public meetings that our residents may want to attend. Riverside Community College District, Moreno Valley Unified, and Valverde Unified are all meeting tonight. So it creates a conflict for those of us who don't have a time machine to get back and forth to these meetings.
Council members.
And I just want to say, join us in our beautified Moval, and I'll be attending at West Bluff Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have closing comments from Councilmember Marquez.
Okay, mine's not going to be 5 minutes, so I'm going to do it quick. Don't know if everybody recalls the poppy in Lake Elsinore several years ago. It was an event that caught not only the city but the county and, would you believe it, Highway Patrol off guard. We had visitors from out of the California, even out of the United States, coming out to see our poppies. RCA, they did have a comment or a press conference about this year's poppies. There will not be a public viewing this year. We don't know if the poppies do grow out. They're not going to be prepared. They're closing down the streets, so there won't be no observing the poppies if they do come out this year. So I just want to let you know. I did attend the League of Cities, also that Councilmember Baca mentioned. Mine was in Sacramento because I was unable to attend this one here locally. Just a real quick briefing. I attended the harassment prevention training. Also attended the development of affected city council and city managers teams, and also attended the legal powers and obligations, open government and conflict of interest. That was on Wednesday. On Thursday, I attended the Understanding Public Service Ethic Laws and Principles. Both of these, harassment and the ethic laws, were certified. I did get my certification, and I did give it over to the city clerk to file. Excuse me. On the Thursday, there was another one, and this was a something that it was more of a acting job, but it was called the Irregular Meeting of the City Council of Dysfunctional Days of the City Council Meeting. And they went on to put these acts on, and it's, I'm sorry to say it, but it sure reassembled Moreno Valley. I'm sorry, but it did. And the Friday, I attended the financial responsibilities, the city revenue workshops. I only did half of that. It was from 8:30 to 11:45. I had to leave at 10. My flight was scheduled for 11:30, so I did attend that, but only half of it. And other than that, I just wish everybody a good evening, and we'll see you next council meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council Member. That brings us to closing comments by Council Member Bernard.
So I, along with Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz and Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, attended Cal Cities with them, and it was very interesting. I won't reiterate what they said, but essentially we learned a lot. We had a lot of networking moments, and Moreno Valley is famous in its own right. So I wanted to first say that. Also, I went with Mayor Cabrera today to go visit CARB in the city of Riverside, and that was very interesting to look at how they were monitoring, addressing, and testing carbon emissions, especially in this area specifically due to like our issues with diesel trucks and things like that. So that was interesting and that was fun. I want to say congratulations to Officer Reyes. She left before I got a chance to talk to her, but I want to make sure that she understands I appreciate her and thank you for her service. Also, I had a chance to tour the Carnegie Homeless Shelter in the city of Santa Ana with San Bernardino Mayor Tran and Supervisor from San Bernardino County, Kurt Hagman, and former Santa Ana Mayor Miguel Pulido. And so I got to go out there and see what their homeless shelter looked like and hope to bring that something like that to the city of Moreno Valley. They house families there. Single couples, singles, people are allowed to have their animals there. The children are getting back and forth to school, as well as any other things they have going on. They have a daycare center area. They have, if they need Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, it's there along with caseworkers. They also have, which I thought was very interesting, was that they also ended up having a pseudo police station there. So if there was something going on or they had some reports they needed to follow up on, they had that. And they also had a place for them to park their cars. And it was all done in such a way that if you were walking by it, it's in an industrial area, you wouldn't even know it was there. So I hope to be able to bring more of that discussion at our study session next week. So I just wanted to make sure that I notated that and put that out there. I, like Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz, want to make sure that because of the incident that happened the other day, I want to make sure that although we do have the one CBAT team, that we are able to actually get the other two hired. I've said it and I will continue to say it. I do not like that our law enforcement officers are out here addressing mental health concerns. That's not what they're supposed to be doing. That's not what they're trained to do. So I think we need to go ahead and start working towards making sure that we get those, that we have the funding for it, that we're able to actually get those teams out there. And I will close with this. Happy Black History Month. And I will close with one of my favorite, or greatest, what I think is one of the greatest political minds of the last century, James Baldwin. I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. And essentially what we're saying is, you may not agree with what's being said, but you can love a country so much that you're able to say, you're great, but there are also some issues. And I hope that as we move forward as a city council, that we always remember that even when they're out here criticizing us, that's only because they love this city so much that they're looking for this city to be the best that it can be at all times. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we have closing comments from Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Very well said, you guys. Very well said. I thought she was going to say Ed Delgado, but she didn't. So moving right along, I will not dictate exactly what Elena said. Our Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz said we attended, because we all attended that, and it was really good training. The best part was certainly, I'm a tactile learner. That Dysfunction Junction was the name of that skit that they put on, and they went through 4 hours of issues, and they had a mock dais and actors, and it was amazing that some of the stuff that they were doing. We were taking notes on. We just recognized that, and we should not do that. And it was really, really good training. So harassment training, we got our certificates. Ethics training, we got our certificates. So we will be better off because we all went to that. So that was very, very good. And from the last time we met till now, I attended the Student of the Month at the March Air Museum. I'm representing District 2, but when I'm there, I'm representing the entire city of Moreno Valley, or all of you. So it was great to see the kids, the school district, recognizing great kids in our school districts. There's 5 total, and then all the parents came, and these kids had to give speeches, and their speeches are dynamic because they're not very good, but that's what's so dynamic about them, is that they're genuine and they're talking from the heart. I also attended the point in time count. I didn't go out. I think Mayor Cabrera went out and did actual work in the count, but I had somewhere to go, so I didn't attend that. But I did go to the 5 o'clock meeting, 4:45 meeting, and there was a lot of people there. And what I got out of that was people care. People care to show up that early in the morning. And boy, it was early for me. They showed up to volunteer their time to go get a good head count of our homeless, and it was amazing to see that. So I also attended the real estate conference here in the Moreno Valley. It was good to see all of the genuine interest in the city of Moreno Valley for developers and real estate folks coming here. Now, it was a regional conference, but we hosted it, so obviously we were able to sit up front, and we were the face of who was there. So Mayor Cabrera was there as well. I attended and most of us did, I don't know if everybody did, but we attended the Texas Roadhouse soft grand opening, whatever it's called. And that was really, really good because it was free. But we love that place. I think coincidentally we all got gift cards for Christmas for Texas Roadhouse, and we're going to use them. So we also attended the lighting of Victoriano Park. All of us were there. It was really cool to see the kids playing around and showing some athletic ability from the council here. I thought it was pretty cool. Then I attended the Elks Lodge honoring the winner of the hoop shoot. He won the 12-13 bracket for the city of Moreno Valley. Regionally, though, Dakota Thomas is a 12-year-old kid that went to Berea, and he literally won against high schoolers the hoop shoot. He shot 23 out of 25 hoops from the free throw line. Remember, he's a little guy, 12 years old. The next kid that came up, 23 out of 25, 21, 20, whatever. So those two had to go off, and he was a high schooler. They went head-to-head, and Dakota won. Our Dakota from Moreno Valley won. He's going to Orange County this weekend, as a matter of fact, and he's going to compete. If he wins, he goes to Las Vegas. If he wins that, he goes to Chicago. 12-year-old Dakota Thomas from Moreno Valley. It was amazing. We have our Elks Lodge in District 2 sponsored him, and it was fantastic. So I do have the palm trees on my list. Bob Palomar stole my thunder. Where's Bob? He went home. Good. Because he stole my thunder. About a month ago, we started working on the trees on Sunnyman Boulevard, and they started getting trimmed, and now it's so much better. So I think, like the broken window syndrome, or what's it called? Anyways, things that look good are going to be contagious as well. So by the chief cleaning up the homeless guys and all the thieves that are on Sunnyman Boulevard, and then our staff doing the trees and some other areas, I think it's just going to be that much better. So two more things. Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. Do not drink and drive. If you drink, don't drive. If you drive, don't drink and stay home. And be kind to one another. I know Super Bowl Sunday is a great way to do that, but stay home and do it. So thank you. Super Bowl 57. I'll tell you what Super Bowl is later.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And that brings me to my closing comments for tonight. And one of the things that event that happened recently was a MLK scholarship breakfast over at Moreno Valley College. And that was really nice, well attended. And, there were students, college students that actually received scholarships as part of that event. And I was able to be there for a little while, but unfortunately I did have to catch a flight, and I just barely made it, so I did have to leave early. But that was actually to go to the Latino Caucus for the League of California Cities for our annual retreat, where we review all of our priorities, what our strategies are going to be, what our mission statement is, and we meet as a board. And that Latino Caucus, I'm now the treasurer for the Latino Caucus for the League of Cities, and that's comprised of council members and mayors from all parts of the state. So it's a really good group of elected officials that has really helped me. When I first got elected, they gave me that opportunity to join them, and we've been able to do a lot of good work there. So very happy to attend the MLK breakfast, and as well as the Latino Caucus retreat. On a similar note, the Community Day of Kindness just took place, and I was able to go to Canyon Springs High School up in District 2, where we visited various students during lunch, and essentially the activity was that they would fill out little cards, and those cards would have a kind note on it, a kind message, and they would send it to a fellow student or teacher or classmate. So that was the whole idea of the event, just to spread kindness and joy and happiness. So the students really enjoyed it, and to my surprise, I was not expecting this at all, but I'll show this just so everybody can see it. I came into my office today, and this was sitting on my desk from Sugar Hill Elementary School. I think you can see it there. It's hand-colored and everything by the students, so this is really nice. I'm going to make sure to frame it and put it up in my office as a thank you for coming out for the Day of Kindness. So appreciate that, Sugar Hill Elementary. If you're listening, appreciate you. Also, Assemblymember Corey Jackson held his first town hall here at Moreno Valley College as well, and a lot of important conversations, right? Just giving some updates, and I'm glad that he chose our city to give his first town hall address at. So just want to make sure to mention that as well, because he chose Moreno Valley to have his first one. The point in time count, as was mentioned before, did have the opportunity. I think this is probably the 5th or 6th time that I've been able to go out there, and each time is slightly different, right? You know you're going to be in Moreno Valley, but you never know what part of Moreno Valley you're going to end up at and who's going to be a part of your unit that goes out to actually conduct a survey. So this particular time, we went out with Deputy Maribella. She was the one that was actually taking us out there to check the different sites and make sure that we survey the homeless population. So that was good as always, and we ran into one homeless lady out behind the Little Caesars on Sunnymead Boulevard, and she actually had her dog with her, a pit bull. But the whole time we talked to her maybe for 30 minutes, the dog didn't wake up, nothing. He was knocked out. So I think that was a good thing for us. But it's always a good experience to go out on the pit count. Also want to give a shout out to our staff. And this is very good news to the city, that recently, just last week, Karma Automotive, as some of you may know, and for those who don't know, we have an EV manufacturer called Karma Automotive here in Moreno Valley, which is a huge deal. But now, as of last week, city staff Mike Lee actually made the announcement that Karma Automotive is now going to be partnering with B on electric vehicles as well. It's light duty vehicles that they're going to be manufacturing here at the Karma facility in the near future. So that's really exciting news, because one of the things that I'm very passionate about, I talk about on and off, is how we can capitalize on EVs and battery technology and everything that has to do with tech. And our staff is getting it done, right? Not only do we have one EV manufacturer, we have 2 EV manufacturers here in Moreno Valley. And that's a really big deal, but it's only the beginning. And I want to make sure that we're capitalizing and that we're snowballing that, so that if we can bring that 3rd manufacturer, that 4th manufacturer, and then expand into into the battery industry, into the EV charging industry. These are very high paying jobs and career opportunities that pay pensions and benefits. So hats off to our staff. Well done, Mike Lee, and everybody else that made that happen. Congratulations on that. As Councilmember Bernard mentioned earlier today, we did have an opportunity to tour the California Air Resources Board. It's approximately a $500 million investment into that facility that's just outside of Moreno Valley over by UC Riverside. And that's a LEED Platinum certified facility where they test for emissions and what particulate matter is in the air, what carbon emissions are there in the air that we're breathing in every single day. So they test from commercial semi-trucks to motorcycles and weed whackers and leaf blowers. So that was a very eye-opening experience to be able to go out there, not only with Councilmember Bernard, but also with several members of our staff. Again, a good segue from EVs, right? It's how do we keep the momentum going and capitalize on all these opportunities that are available to us, so that it'll ultimately help our residents with jobs and career opportunities. One of the public speakers earlier mentioned the possibility of putting a basketball court at Patriot Park, and I'm actually very familiar with Patriot Park. It's close to it's District 4, so it is a smaller park, and that's one thing. I will propose it tonight for an official vote to explore the possibility of putting some kind of basketball court there at Patriot Park. And I have a few more comments, but at this time, I would like to make that proposal to explore options to look into possibly putting a basketball court at Patriot Park. That is the same. That park is located on the same street where that unfortunate incident happened yesterday with the person who was mentally ill, had some schizophrenia. So that area historically is unfortunately an area that needs more attention. So at this time, I'll just make a proposal seeking a second to explore options for a basketball court at Patriot Park. Okay, I have a second from Councilmember Marquez, and since there's a motion and a second, if we could go ahead and call for a vote, please. Do you want a voice vote? Okay, can we call for a voice vote, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Councilmember Marcus? Councilmember Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Delgado?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Cabrera?
Yes. Thank you. And that passes 5-0. Appreciate. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. And just to wrap up my comments here, Texas Roadhouse is officially open, as was mentioned by Mayor Pro Tem. If you haven't had those steaks, they're very good, so highly recommend checking it out, taking your family out there. And also the lighting ceremony, that was great. And that was the second lighting ceremony that we've had in the past few months. The one before Victoriano Park that just happened was at El Potrero Park over there next to the LaSalle Sports Complex. So this is good because one of the things we hear time and time again is we need more fields, we need more lights to practice on, to play on. And not only have we invested into lights at one park, but now 2 parks for our soccer teams, for our football teams as well. So that was really well attended, and the entire council was there as well. I also attended the League of Cities, a conference for new mayors and new council members. Had an opportunity to just talk to a lot of familiar faces, like the executive director, Carolyn Coleman. I've known her for a few years now, as well as a few other elected officials here. And my colleague, Danny Parra, who sits with me on the board for the Latino Caucus, is the incoming president for the League of Cities. You know, that hopefully will help us in our lobbying efforts as well. But overall, those conferences are good. I've been to several of those now, and each one is slightly different, but they provide a lot of good information and a lot of refreshers as well that are very helpful. So that went very well. And last but not least, I also just want to remind everyone that next Wednesday is our study session. Next Wednesday, February 15th at 6 p.m. is our study session here in the council chamber. It's open to the public. Members of the public can come and speak during public comments. And that study session is specifically to look at the homeless situation in the city of Moreno Valley, to look into the data, to look at the statistics, see where our numbers are, see what resources are currently in place, and then what solutions we can put in place to further address the homeless situation in our city. And as Councilmember Bernard mentioned and alluded to earlier, I'm hoping that one of the things that comes out of that meeting is that we can invest money to build some form of housing for the homeless population in Moreno Valley. We currently have 0 beds in the city of Moreno Valley for our homeless folks. That needs to change. We've done a great job with the Homeless to Work program, with providing vouchers. All of that is good, but I know we can still do more to further address the situation. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. Appreciate my colleagues for their input as well, and I look forward to having a very extensive and productive conversation next Wednesday as well. And remember, we moved it because Valentine's Day was Tuesday. So I hope you all have a good night, and I hope you have a happy Valentine's Day as well. Make sure to treat your significant other to something special, and you won't be able to say that the mayor didn't remind you. I did remind you. So, with that being said, let's head home. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting here tonight at 9:09 p.m. Thank you.